Hello, 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 everybody. It's Thursday, and you know what that means. It means it's time for TACIS. It's the Transatlantic Call-In Show. We take your calls talking about trans issues, usually focusing up on that a little bit here from the atheist skeptic perspective. I'm Luxander. Today I'm on with Josie. Josie, how are you doing today?
I am doing good. I am in full campaign mode as always. I actually took some time off work just so I can get some more fundraising in because we got a huge deadline on January 21st. So it's going to be big, 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 big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
January 21st is also a big day for me because that's the 1 year anniversary of me arriving in the state of Oregon. So
Ooh, has it already been a year?
I know, right? Yeah, soon.
Time.
Keeps on slipping, slipping, slipping into the future.
Yeah, it is. And I'm wearing my herbivore shirt today because on January 3rd was my 10-year anniversary of being vegan. That's wild.
Wow.
I know. I know.
Dedication.
Dedication. Yeah, got to do it. That's how I feel.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it was like I just got to do it in honor. It's like, yeah, got to let everybody know.
Well, congratulations for your moral
Thank you.
superiority, you know.
Thank you. Yes, yes. Please praise me for that.
Well, we have open lines right now, everybody. We are looking forward to getting some calls at 720-619-2288. We prioritize callers who disagree with us. So if you have a disagreement, if you think trans people suck, if you think that we should have to cease and desist our online commentary because we are endorsing a radical gender ideology, then give us a call. If you don't like trans kids receiving healthcare, if you think that Medicaid shouldn't pay for it or anything like that, we are here to ideally educate. You know, when Josie and I are on together, sometimes I get a little bit spicy, but usually, we tend to try to hit a more educational angle. But if you bring us some attitude, then we will match your attitude. So watch out. We do take friendly calls, but we're limiting that to only a couple of lines today. So if you have advice that you want to get from us, we will be taking those, but we might not get to you until later on in the show. So with all that said, I think we are ready to talk about the poll from last week.
Yeah, the
Yes.
doomer poll.
Yeah. Well, I honestly like during the call with Ben last week, I feel like I was more leaning toward like a feeling of optimism. So we asked you all, will 2026 be a better year for trans rights? And a lot of you said no, but a good portion of you said yes. And there were lots of really interesting comments. I think a lot of folks are feeling like maybe yes in a hopeful way or yes in a like I'm making a statement of intent kind of way. What do you think, Josie?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I feel like we are very close to the bottom of the barrel when it comes to what laws can happen. And I'm gonna be honest, I voted no.
Mm,
And I'm usually very optimistic, as everybody knows, maybe a little too optimistic where it like makes Arden want to physically vomit sometimes. But I will say that it is because what's happening in, like, Washington State, for example, they have a public ballot going to the ballot at the end of the year for the people to vote on the sports ban that requires general inspections, right? You also have another, anti-trans bill ballot measure possibly happening in Maine. We also have another one that's possibly happening in Missouri. That's definitely gonna happen in Missouri. It's a reproductive justice or anti-reproductive justice bill that also has like a gender affirming care provision in it and like taking it away. So there's like a lot of things that are happening and it's like it's really disheartening because we have to use a lot of money and resources and organizing to try to beat these things. And it's just like I feel the way that Trump talked earlier about the fact he said, if they lose the midterms, that's what he was saying. If we lose the midterms in 2026, it's going to be impeachment and transgender for everyone. And it's like That's the thing that they wanna scapegoat, and they also wanna scapegoat the Somali people. So
Mm,
it's gonna be Somali people, trans people, and impeachment sound like those are gonna be the 3 things that they're gonna be talking about, for the election instead of talking about the economy. So
mm.
I think they're gonna lose big, but I think that this may be one of the biggest death rows that they're gonna have against the trans community. But again, I think we're going to win in the end, but I think 2026 is gonna be a very strange year, and I don't know if it's gonna be good. I think I also predict that in 2026, we may see the first adult gender affirming care ban,
Mm.
but I'm not sure on that either. So, I don't mean to be doomer. I think we're gonna win in the end. I just think that this year is gonna be a weird year. So,
I agree. I think that it's likely things will get worse before they get better. Like, I mean, the man could have a stroke any day now, right? It's there's people who know more than I do about this. We talked about it with Dr. Ben last week that he might have like a type of dementia that could result in his death relatively soon. What's going to happen to the MAGA coalition if their figurehead is no longer in the picture? Like whether that's by impeachment or 25th Amendment, he's not able to be president anymore, or if he simply croaks, like what's going to happen there. And then additionally, with this is not what the show is about today, but I feel like it would be insane to not at least mention it once. But the shooting in Minneapolis yesterday, I'm expecting a large wave of protests, and I'm expecting them to crack down on those protests in a way that the police riots might be an attempt to justify invocation of the Insurrection Act, which could mean that they try to pull some bullshit like suspending the midterm elections. So I repeatedly find that I am not able to predict what's about to happen next. I'm just constantly blindsided. So I can't, I feel like I can't make any really strong statements about whether it's going to be good or bad. Uh, Likely, I guess, bad. So I'm not blaming anybody for feeling kind of a sense of panic or anything right now. Um, Again, I'm just usually on that like focus on what you can control. So if you're feeling a little bit anxious right now, maybe get the ball rolling on your passport. Maybe start saving up money that you would normally spend. You know, maybe get a little bit more involved in your community. I'm going to try to volunteer at an LGBTQ youth organization. That's one of my things that I want to try to get into this year. So be a member of your community, participate, vote locally, especially if you have the ability to run for something local. Josie can tell you all about it. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Hey, it might be a huge year for trans people. We got a lot of trans people running for office
Hmm.
this cycle. Not just myself, but just a lot of really amazing humans across the board. And so we just got to keep pushing. And I will say about the fact that like once Trump is like out of the picture due to election or something else, um he has a superpower, and his superpower is shamelessness.
Mm,
There are a few people who can be as shameless as him, and he just has no shame. People like JD Vance, he feels shame. You can see it. He's a weenie, right? Like he doesn't like it when people say meany words to him.
hmm.
When they call him weird, or when they say he's like you could see his internal soul get crushed by the shame of who he is as a person, and there just isn't a lot of people that have that shameless of power. So I think that even if it is like JD Vance, he's going to try to put on the emperor's clothes and realize they don't fit, and then
Hmm.
everybody's going to make fun of him because and he's just not going to like that very much, and that power vacuum is going to lead to so many people trying to vie for power at once, which is going to allow us to wipe them away and actually bring stability back to this country. Again, I am eternally optimistic. I really feel there is some light coming through at the very end of this. It's just the darkest before the dawn type of analogy, and I think that's where we are at right now.
Yep. Well, that's all the commentary for the poll from last week. Thank you all for participating and leaving your comments on the community post. We have the one from this week, which we're not going to go into in detail right now. We're going to talk a little bit more and take some calls beforehand. But for this week, and there should be a poll in the chat for you all as well. Do you support the idea of a state trust fund for hospitals which may be about to lose their funding over them providing gender affirming care? So we know that there are things going around where they're saying, "Oh, we're just gonna deny Medicaid funding to hospitals," meaning like hospitals will no longer be able to serve the underserved in their community. They will no longer be able to serve the poorest in their community if they choose to continue providing gender affirming care. So that's what the poll means. Let us know in the chat. And if you want to leave a longer comment, check out the community posts page on the channel and we'll get into it later. Don't forget, this is a call-in show. We do have a couple people waiting. We haven't gotten any objection calls yet, though, so we want to make sure we leave some space for those. It's 720-619-2288. Or if you're outside of the US, we can take your call on the web caller. But if you're in the US, you better use that damn phone number. So, let's see. Do we have any of the calls that looks like we could get on right now? I'm looking at 4-1 perhaps.
That's the one I was looking at too. Yeah.
All right, we're going to bring in Matilda from Canada, who uses she, her pronouns. Matilda, you're live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going? If Call-in Studio
Hello?
will ever
Oh,
work.
hi.
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 Is it working?
Yeah, we're
Yes.
here. It just took a second to load you in.
Hello. Basically, I have questions about my gender identity and how to know when it's actually a gender identity problem and not a problem. I mean, not that having a diverse gender identity is a problem, but like, when is it like internal versus when is it just like I'm not a conventional woman or I'm just not I just don't fit the stereotypes. Is my
Yeah.
question clear?
Yes, it is. This is what I usually say is, do you consider yourself cis?
I don't know.
Okay. Most cis people don't have that confusion. Most cis
Yeah.
people are like, yeah, I'm cis. And if you have any trepidation around the word cis, then that kind of can give you a little bit of a clue to dig deeper about where that is coming from. And then from there, like it becomes your own exploration. And as long as you understand like the difference between gender expression and gender identity, is the big piece, because there are cis people who, like, let's say a cis woman may be more inclined to dress in more masculine clothing, more, do more masculine coded things, but um still feel as a woman internally, because of like tomboy type things like that, which is fine, or mask lesbian, or just a mask woman generally. But if it is more of like, I don't know if I want to be called they or he, that can be a deeper clue as well. And if you have people close to you, have them try it on, right? Like be like, hey,
It's not
try call it. Go ahead.
it's not really about the pronouns. It's more of an internal thing. I don't really understand what gender means for me.
Mm,
It's
mhm,
I feel okay. First of all, I'm going to preface this by saying that I'm autistic, so
mhm.
I know our experience of gender can be different than most people, but I feel like I don't even know what an experience of gender is.
I mean, you
Yeah.
It's
might
like,
be
am
agender.
I feel like I'm a meat. I feel like I'm a brain in a meat suit,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I don't really know what that means in terms of my gender, because I feel like an imposter when I say that I'm a woman, but I also know that I can't say that I'm a man because I don't feel like that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
There's
for me,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, for me, there was definitely a part of my process. It's really funny that the word deconstruction just came to mind. My deconstruction from gender was like there was some questions of like, do I just hate being a woman because being a woman sucks? Like because people treat women badly? And I came to realize like I love and appreciate women. I just feel like an outsider to that concept. But when I would reflect on non-binary identity, I would be like, okay, well, that makes more sense. Like that fits, partially because it's such a broad category. I will say that something you could do is start exploring different types of presentations of womanhood. Like if you look at a bunch of women, is there a type of woman that you're like, oh, I do feel more like that woman? Like, there's this account that I follow called Burritos and ADHD. And if there was a woman who I was like, I could be like that kind of woman, she's it, except that I still am not a woman. But like she, she's just like a weightlifter and she has like some of the same health issues that I do. And her attitude is one that I can appreciate. So you could just kind of reflect on different types of womanhood and see if any of those fit you. But a lot of autistic people seem to have this thing where we're like, I don't really understand what gender is. It's one of those rules that doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, we don't you're just expecting a bunch of stuff from me and I don't vibe with it. I don't agree with it. I don't care about what you say. So a lot of autistic
Yes.
people do reflect on their gender as kind of within that context. So there is a term called autigender, which is like autism, but then you just replace the ism with gender at the end. So maybe that's something you'd be interested in exploring. I identify as agender, like I don't have a gender. I do identify as non-binary, and I'm interested in transition to, various degrees. But yeah, so that, that would be like my advice for trying to get down to the bottom of it, if getting to the bottom of it matters to you. But just do whatever you feel good doing when it comes to your actual behaviors. Like that is an important part of self-expression and gender exploration, is just do whatever makes you feel the best about yourself.
Because, like, it's funny because when I feel the best about myself is when I'm the most girly in terms of presentation. I love wearing long and flowy skirts and lots of pinks and colors and stuff like that. But like every time I think about womanhood as a concept, I'm just confused. So, and I've looked at agender identity, and I feel like that could apply, but also because like I'm confused internally, but not externally, if that makes sense. Like, I don't feel the need to change my pronouns. I don't feel the need to change my appearance or my presentation. I just want to know why I feel so confused.
That's autism, baby.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I have
I
the
think I
the tism, the tism gender problems.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the absence of understanding gender, even though you present with expression, is probably a good place to think about with the agender conversation, because I think you probably understand the definitional understanding of like gender and sex and the differences between those things and the internal identification. And so it could make sense that you just don't identify with the understanding of, or identify with gender as a concept, because you just don't have any root or understanding to it, because you just don't have a connection to gender in the way that most people in the world walk around with gender. And so it's okay to not understand. It's like I've talked to many people who are ace, for example, and they have the I've had very similar conversations about like, why do people want to be together like that? Like, what is love, and why is that feeling so intimate? And like, I see you, Lex. But so there is a reality in that, where it's just going to stay a foreign concept, and you're just going to have to kind of just like live with the idea that there is a world with gender, and you may never understand it or grasp it or need to, as long as you can live in your life and thrive through it all. Don't feel that you need to pin it down. I think that's another thing that I think a lot of people try to do, is like, I cannot move on until I figure this out. And believe me, I understand the TISM need to understand things. But sometimes it's okay just to let it go and be like, It's just not for me. And and just move on through the world without that anchor that people have with gender.
Yeah, I just have the personal need to get a word, to put a word on it, not like necessarily pin it down to a word, but just like have something to help my brain define what I feel. Because I have very poor interoception and also very poor understanding of body language and second degree things and stuff like that. So the words are kind of my only tool in life to make myself understandable to others and to understand others. So that's why I'm trying to find something I resonate with, but also I'm scared to hijack the any label. But also I know that's not really that's not really a concern, because usually people that think about hijacking labels are not the people who are doing that.
I mean, if you want to consider yourself a conscientious objector to the question of gender, I think that that would be, even if you're not able to find a particular word that resonates, just go like, I've decided I don't give a shit. Like that's the path that you're on. I think that that's a reasonable thing to say. Maybe you don't vibe with a gender specifically. Maybe you don't vibe with odd gender. You just don't need to,
Well, I feel like I
dedicate
kind
yourself
of
to any
vibe
one
with
particular thing.
agender. I mean, it's the best. I think it expresses the most clearly what I feel, because A means without. And so because I don't have an internal feeling of my own gender, I feel like agender would be a logical word to use.
Yeah.
I'm just, I called because it's hard to find information about that, because it's so subjective and people talk about internal experiences all the time, and I'm just like, I don't have that.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you've gotten as close as you can possibly get to the right answer. Like lots of agender people don't bother with transition. They don't bother with changing their presentation. Lots of agender people are autistic. So I feel like that's probably the best option to land on, is to say, here's my general label. Also, I don't give a fuck and I'm just gonna dress however I want.
Yes. I whoa, sorry. Oh, pardon. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Um, I'm a little sick. And also it's my nap time, so I'm thank you so much for helping me. It's kind of, I feel like I just needed some confirmation from people who know what they're talking about and have experience sharing that experience. And I thank you so much for helping me navigate that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, we
Yeah.
appreciate you calling in, Matilda, and I'll let you go to your nap. I hope you have a good sleep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I hope it will be a good sleep, too. It's usually not, but hey, we can hope.
You got to at least try. Well, thanks again,
Yeah.
and we'll talk to you again sometime.
Yeah, I hope to call back sometime. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. First of all, my arm hurts. I got vaxxed today.
Oh no, you got
Get your vax.
vaxxed.
Yeah, I got double vaxxed. Yeah, the gun
Yeah.
show. Yeah, yeah.
Piss off RFK. Get your vax today.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, it's the left one hurts more. I'm like, I'm trying to raise my arms and it's like, why does one of them hurt more than the other one? I don't know. I feel like such a weakling.
Yeah.
Strong immune system. Together strong.
Yeah. It's called getting
Well,
older, Lux. I'm
I know,
sorry.
it's the worst.
It is the worst.
Um, cool. Well, I think we'll go ahead and let's reflect on the poll, because I feel like y'all are confused in the chat about the poll this week. So let's get into it and explain it a little bit better. In the meantime, while we're discussing this, we are still taking calls. We have open lines, especially if you have some kind of disagreement with us. We are available at 720-619-2288. If you're outside the US, there's a link in the description for the web caller. So make sure to get those disagreements lodged. We will bump you to the top of the list if you seem like you're about to be a spicy call. So that's the priority today. So, okay, do you support state trust fund bills for hospitals that are at risk over gender affirming care? So basically, like I said earlier, the Medicaid and Medicare funding stuff, some hospitals are being threatened in like it's happened in Texas, I think. They're being threatened with, if you don't stop providing this care, especially to children, then we are going to, stop negotiating with you with Medicaid, which is devastating for hospitals. Hospitals need Medicaid funding, public hospitals in particular. So this bill in Vermont, which we learned about from Aaron in the Morn, it's a bill basically saying we are going to create a state trust fund so that if any of these hospitals lose their funding for continuing to provide gender affirming care, we're going to make a fund so that we can still make sure that those hospitals are receiving money so that they can remain open. So basically, they're trying to hold every single person's healthcare hostage over the idea of gender affirming care. So it's like either you stop providing this care or we will just ruin healthcare often in rural places where there already is a very limited amount of resources, medically speaking. So we're asking, do you support the idea if the funding is being threatened? Obviously, I'm not asking you if you support the threatening of the funds, but so long as that's happening, do you support the idea that states can individually create their own method of funding the hospitals in the absence of federal funding? So I feel like this is an easy answer, but Josie, what do you think?
No, it is. I mean, it's one of those situations where states have to step in to fill in the gaps of where federal funding is failing. And I think to have specific money that goes to hospitals to help subsidize their health care that they're providing to their patients is incredibly important, and it is important for states to do this when when hospitals are being threatened by the federal government in specific ways, because we have so many people who are currently getting health care. It would be disastrous to take everybody off of health care because the hospital provides some form of gender affirming care, because that is a dangerous situation. And also the laws still don't know what they are, considering gender affirming care could be a menopausal care, it could be testosterone, it could be a lot of different things, gynecomastia, like top surgeries, like all of the different things that are gender affirming care is up in the air. So, they could just say, "Oh, you provided postmenopausal care," and some wild lawmaker can be like, "But menopause is a natural feature," because they love policing women's bodies and just people's bodies so much that it's like, how dare you have control when you can get menopause? And those things are just all maxed, and so we need to be able to fight back against these things. And talking about the Washington state bill that they're trying to do on the ballot, they actually are saying genetic makeup, the ability for reproduction, and some other, the ability to give birth or whatever, or how the body is like constructed. So like, what one strategy is to basically get Washington state to make their bill so egregious that everybody that wants to participate in sports has to get chromosomal testing. And just make it prohibitively expensive,
Wow.
to be able to make that happen. And then that would actually shut down the bill, because they use the word genetic makeup, and the only way you can do that is if you literally gave everybody a genetic test. And we've never had that happen in like human history, where the we've had so many people do genetic testing, because genetic testing is usually only done if you have a genetic disorder or some genetic condition that the doctors have to verify if you have some type of illness or some type of symptom that comes out of it. So I think it would be very interesting if Washington State did do something like that, because then there would be a lot of people thinking they're XYs and XXs, realizing really quick that that's not actually what they are, because it's about the SRY gene, and people don't understand because they only have a third grade understanding of biology. So because of that, it would cause also massive headaches and panic across the state. So it's just really interesting how they try to like do the wording in these bills in a way that tries to put people into a box, but like we've seen it with the calls that we do all the time, like there is no like necessary condition that makes a person a woman or a man type situation in those conversations. So when you try to legislate around the fact that there's no necessary condition, it creates really bad laws, and it causes a massive amount of confusion, and it costs the lawmakers who make these stupid laws more money. So they're not being good stewards of the economic benefits and taxes either in these states. But anyways, this is, you're hearing my policy brain at work, and yeah.
Yeah. I do like if there's anybody listening right now who thinks that we should be doing genetic testing in sports or in any other avenue, I would love to hear any arguments in support of that, because it is just increasing the financial burden, whether it's like is it going to be part of the process for a teenage girl? Like you have to get a physical before you can do sports. At least that's what I remember from when I was in like high school. So am I also going to have to shell out hundreds of dollars for a genetic test of my chromosomes that my insurance is like almost 100% not going to cover? Um, yeah, like who pays for this? What is the standard of evidence? What do we do when we find out? Like there have been times in the past, oh gosh, I can't remember her name because it's in a different language. But there was a woman back in the 60s, I believe, who got genetic testing, and it was when the genetic testing was new. So it could have been a mistake of the genetic test, or it could be that she genuinely did have a chromosomal anomaly, but she was taken out of, she was a runner, I think, and she was taken out of participation, and she gave birth to a child a year later. So, yeah, if you can justify ridiculous increased scrutiny on women, mostly, like mostly cis women, putting them at a higher standard, the idea of like separate but equal. Like, do you think that people who have a genetic anomaly should just have their own separate sports league? What are the results going to be? And also, what do you do? Someone in chat said that they're trans and have XX chromosomes. So what do you do in that case where you suspect someone is trans, but then they get a chromosomal test and it turns out that they have the chromosomes of the identity that they hold? Yeah, that would be a huge mess. So we are still taking calls. We especially want to talk to anybody who disagrees with us at 720-619-2288. Also, if you're here in the chat and you're watching, click that like button. If you haven't clicked that like button, I'm going to come get you, because that's like the number one way that you can tell YouTube to show the stream to more people, show your support. It's quick, it's easy, it's free. Basically, anytime you click on the screen during the show, it promotes the stream and it will make it more likely that we'll get more calls and more viewers. So please contribute however you can. With that said, I do think we have at least one call on here that could be a little bit spicy, perhaps. Do you think, is anything jumping out to you, Josie?
Maybe. I don't know if you're looking at the one that's still in the screening room, or maybe
I think
not. I don't know.
that person dropped out and is calling back in. I think that there was a connection issue. So that was one that I
Oh,
was looking at.
okay,
That might
okay.
be the
That's
one.
the one I was thinking too.
Okay.
Um,
So
but
we'll
yeah,
wait another second for them to get through the screening.
yeah.
There they go. Okay, so we're going to bring in Steven, he, him pronouns from Oklahoma. Steven, you are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going?
Hello, how are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Psyched to be here.
Yeah.
Well, lay it on us. What do you
So
want to talk about today?
I am newly deconstructed from a very fundamentalist religion, and I have undergone massive, massive shifts in how I think about things and what I think is right versus wrong. I I think I've made pretty decent progress. And listening to the line, I've heard Matt and Forrest talk about the differences between gender and sex and the biology. All of that makes a ton of sense to me. But I think my issue is that, like, it's the difference between what my head knows and my heart knows. And I'm trying to break all that stuff down. And I think I still struggle with transphobia. And I want to. I want to learn, and I want to, like, accept and not be a D-bag, I guess. So,
Oh,
anything anything you could
yeah.
do to help me with that.
I hear
Also,
you. Go ahead. You
the only
said
other the
also.
only other thing, like, for the most part, I think, what adults do is really none of my business, and I'm totally down with the whole idea that you try to legislate stuff that turns out not good, and I'm down for being against all that. But I'm really more concerned with my own heart and my own thoughts, and I think I struggle with mentally accepting, but not accepting in my heart. And I don't really know why I should support children being treated, and I'm willing to listen and learn.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, thank you for calling in. And it sounds like, it's a hard time. I also had to deconstruct at one point. And also when I came out as a trans woman myself, I had to deal with internalized transphobia because I also grew up in a religious conservative household. And I thought one way and had to even deal with my own internal struggles as a trans woman and having to deal with the understanding that I've been a girl since 8 years old, but I hid those feelings for so long. So it takes a long time because I didn't come out as trans until like 34 years old. And that was after 6 years in the Navy and having a professional career and then having to then confront the reality of me being a trans person and having to live myself. So I understand where you're coming from. So I just want to start there. So going through the conversation, so do you understand? So you said you do understand the difference between sex and gender, correct?
I think I do. It's one of those things where, as I'm deconstructing with my faith, the reason I listen to the line so much is it just kind of
Hmm.
reinforces things that you know you keep saying the same thing over and over enough, then it kind of drills through. And I've only listened to a few calls where they have discussed such topics. But I mean, Forrest has been extremely helpful talking about, like, some of this, like, I don't know if I get the terms right, but I guess gender is a social construct. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. He's gone through and
Hmm.
talked about, different gender roles and how that's just, like, depends on the society, and sex
Hmm.
is something completely different. And even then there's variation because there's all kinds of genetic things that can happen. So, like, all of that makes a ton of sense to me.
Okay, great. So
I'm not going to
so
say that, like, I could teach a I couldn't do a
no,
seminar
I
on it and
understand.
explain it to someone else.
And you don't need to, right? Like understanding isn't necessarily required to accept, right? Acceptance is something completely different than having to understand somebody else's lived experience in their skin, right? It's a very, very different thing. And I think that is the most important thing is just being able to say, you know what? I may not understand it completely, but people are getting help by it, so therefore I'm gonna just let accept people for who they are, and it sounds like you've gotten there with adults, which is a good step. Now, are you familiar with the fact that only about 1 to 2% of the entire U.S. and global population actually identify as trans?
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Okay. So would you be surprised to know that less than 1% of the entire youth population in America actually is diagnosed with gender dysphoria and actually gets health care for
Is that
for gender dysphoria?
like 1% of the 1%, or is it
It's
still
like
just one
it's like
percent?
what it's just 1% of all youth.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah.
people below the age of 18. So it's only about 1%, right? So we're talking about a very small percentage. We're talking about, like 400 plus maybe 1,000 kids a year our baby getting some type of treatment year annually before they go into adulthood. Now, so when we talk about it this way, and this is something to think about, is there is a deep medical like standards of care when it comes to someone who is a minor going in through this care. So first of all, when you are like below the age of like 10, 11, like there is no medical intervention with like needles and, you know, hormone blockers and things like that. Usually it's social and then it's psychological. So usually there's like pediatric psychologists that are involved to kind of like verify and make sure that the child actually has the diagnosis of gender dysphoria, which is a very specific diagnosis. Once that child has that specific diagnosis, they wait until the child actually, they do, you know, blood tests to see when the child actually starts puberty, which is 10 or 2 puberty, which is basically they can see it in the markers in their blood to say, oh, this child's starting puberty. And then once that happens, it is the parent, the person undergoing the, you know, puberty, and the doctor who is involved in making sure that that child is fully cared for and has puberty blockers. Puberty blockers are fully reversible. So let's say within that 2-year period on puberty blockers, the child's like, you know what, I'm actually, you know, the sex assigned at birth and this is the gender that I want. And then they get off and then they start puberty like normal, and then they grow up to be, you know, without the cross-sex hormones. Now, if later on and they go into puberty blockers and then they realize the doctors and the psychologists and the parents and the child, they're all like, yep, totally, you know, if they're assigned a boy, or a male at birth, then they go and they want to, you know, go through puberty as a girl and a woman, then they will go through that process. So it is a very long drawn out process before any child gets this care, and it's in the trans community's best interest to be able to do this. That's why the regret rate is less than 1% for this process,
Mm-hmm.
because it is so deep and so well done, because we don't want a bunch of people as a trans community going through this process if they're not actually trans. So
That makes sense.
that's why we have a large amount of support and medical, clinical evidence and psychological support to make sure that this process happens. So now that you kind of know a little bit about the process itself, how do you feel about, you know, minors going through this process as I stated it?
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, this whole topic is a conservative boogeyman. So, like, we're
Mhm.
not talking about large numbers. It's being handled with care, and like the people and professionals and know what they're doing are doing it right. And like, just like I don't have any problem with adults doing whatever they need to do, I can trust that that everything is on the up and up, and you're not just doing a bunch of crazy stuff. And like, these are medically necessary things
Mhm.
that everyone has
Absolutely.
agreed to. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing is going to be perfect. So just because, the other thing I might add to that is, just because there might be 1 or 2 stories of some child going through this and feeling like they were led down the garden path and their life was screwed up, doesn't mean that the whole idea is suspect.
Exactly, exactly. And I just want to reiterate to you as well, surgeries aren't happening to the minors in the most of the time
Yeah,
either. The
that
times
makes
that
sense.
surgery is actually happening, it's usually top surgery, and that is usually when the child figures out that they're trans later in life after they've already developed puberty. So if you are, you know, assigned female at birth and you've already developed breast tissue, but find out that you're actually a trans boy and soon to be trans man, then the doctors and the parents and the child can then make the determination that yes, maybe this surgical care will be in the best interest of that child. But outside of that, there isn't really bottom surgeries going on because the surgeons themselves don't want to do bottom surgeries on a person who's still growing into their bodies. So
Yeah.
it's like one of the things that we want to make sure somebody's fully grown for the most part before they start doing, massive surgical care on a body that's still growing, because that's just not wise medical practice in a lot of ways, unless the surgeon has a deep understanding of why they are doing it for specific reasons. And there's usually a lot of distress involved, but usually that's how it is. And the puberty blockers actually help a lot, because if you are blocking male puberty, for example, you're actually not developing a lower voice. You're not getting the broader shoulders, and the face doesn't masculinize. So therefore, like, the surgical intervention actually goes down, because then the person assigned, male at birth, will develop female puberty first, which will just make them develop like an actual girl, and a woman, and then they would only need, bottom surgery when they reach past 18 years old. So usually that's how it goes. And I'll just leave you with this, and I'll let Lux jump in, because I haven't Lux hasn't said anything yet. This When you said conservative boogeyman, right? That rung really true to me, because I don't like it when government officials, and this is me, I'm actually running for political office as well. I do not like when government officials go into the doctor's office and tell doctors what medical care they can and cannot provide, when they've been to school and they know what's going on. They've been doing this for a long time. They have medical evidence. They have clinical practices. They understand what they're doing. But for someone who is just like, I don't know anything about this, but this feels wrong, so I'm going to stop this doctor from doing that. And
Yeah.
for me, I just think that's a bad way of governing, because it creates more problems going down the line. Because
It
then the
sounds like.
kids, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
The science and facts here are lovely, and I really appreciate that. I mean, I'm also recently not against abortion anymore. Used to be
Yeah.
very against abortion, but like, we see what happens when you try to lock that down, and all kinds of stuff that didn't used to happen are happening, and it's a lot easier to understand, like, oh, we should stay out of medical things where people are making decisions that keep people alive and don't cause problems. So, like, would you say that there's like a very good analogy to that?
I would, yeah.
In terms of,
So what you're asking basically is like, if abortion is illegal, people will still seek abortion in unsafe ways. Is that kind of what you're driving toward?
no, I'm saying that, like, people are dying in the hospital because doctors are afraid to do things, because we've locked
Mhm.
stuff down and people aren't getting the care that they need. And it's like, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't be involved in medical decisions. We shouldn't try to legislate that stuff.
Yeah. So there's kind of two things that I would say to that, which is that, first of all, yes, this is why we keep saying that this care is integral for mental health, because these kids, if you're allowing them to suffer through what is an intense form of body horror, like, if you ever watch like The Thing or anything, where you're like, there is like a body horror element of like, you do not have control over what's happening to you. It's unstoppable. You feel grotesque. A lot of it is irreversible. Like, imagine your body is a prison, and it's changing in ways that you have no control over, and everyone around you refuses to acknowledge your suffering. Like, it creates negative mental health outcomes for the patient. So we want to provide options to at least pause that body horror
Mm.
element, to give us a little bit more time. But I do think, jumping on the abortion example, that it is a situation where if we don't provide this care safely, people are going to feel desperate enough to go outside of a well controlled medical setting. So, like, for example, the Trump administration is targeting companies that provide chest binders. So if you are at a stage of puberty where you've started to develop breasts and you're really uncomfortable with that, it's basically just a little tank top that you can wear that just kind of smushes things down a little bit. And those are designed in a way that makes it to where you can still breathe easily and you can still move and you can still do sports and stuff while you're wearing it. But the Trump administration is attacking those and saying, you're billing this as a medical device, therefore it needs to be regulated by the FDA. Well, if you take away access for that, do you know what teenagers do? They use duct tape and
Oh,
ace bandages and they break their ribs. It's
Mhm.
not safe, like, to, and people will, I've known of people who have attempted self-surgery because they're in such a degree of distress. So, we're dealing with something that is clearly deeply a medical problem. And all of the research that we have on the subject tells us that providing the medical care is the best way of alleviating the stress for adults and for children. And like Josie was saying, we don't rush to give kids this medical care. We're not
no.
fast tracking them. People like Chloe Cole, she and her parents, with her parents' support, specifically shopped around for a doctor that was willing to give her basically care under an informed consent model. She was 16 years old. 16 years old, you can get a tattoo with your parents' consent at 16 in most places in the US. So, you know, those are really outlier situations. The regret rate is very low for these procedures because we set a really high bar on who is allowed to get it in the first place. So for kids,
Mm.
it could be argued that the requirement is too high because kids who do need it are not receiving the care. So that's kind of my contribution to
Okay.
that subject.
No,
Yeah.
that all that makes a ton of sense, and I really appreciate that. Okay, but we'll move off from that topic because
Sure.
I found all of that incredibly useful and helpful, and I really appreciate it. Well, let's talk about my lingering transphobia. So I think if brass tacks, if my son came to me and said that he was trans, I think I could tolerate. I don't know that I could accept, and I know there's a massive difference between those two things. And I want to get to the point where, I mean, I could be like, oh yeah, all right. Like, I don't think I'm there. What do I need to do to break this last lingering crap
Yeah.
that I was indoctrinated with?
I
Yeah.
mean, go to therapy with your kid. Like, that's you're reaching a place where I'm like, I don't really know how to directly help unless, like, because I'm not a medical professional or like a social worker professional, but like there are therapy modes that are meant to help youth who are going through this, and a family
Well,
therapist will also
Well,
often
they're
loop in
not,
the parents.
Lux, it's not that they actually have it. This is a hypothetical. If
No, I
Stephen
know, I
had,
understand. I'm just
yeah,
saying,
yeah.
like, you
So,
would need to seek professional assistance in that
that
situation.
sure, yes,
that
but
makes sense.
that's true. You need that would be a good step as well. And you got to think about it this way, Stephen. It's like I'm sure you love your son to death, correct? Like you do everything for him, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure you've heard the horror stories of parents that have had that exact situation that you're talking about, where the parent is not accepting of their child and then they lose their access to their child because they no longer want to speak to them and essentially lose the love of their child. And that is like, if that were to happen, let's say in this hypothetical that you were talking about, and if your child was like, hey, this is happening, and you said, I don't accept it, and you continued to not accept it, and then your child no longer wanted to associate with you anymore, how would that make you feel?
Well, yeah. No, it would be terrible. The reason I bring it up is because I would frame that as a worst case scenario. Like if my son came to me and said, "Hey, I got a tattoo," I'd be like, "Oh, sweet." Or if he said he
Hmm.
was gay, I'd be like, "Okay,"
Hmm.
you know. But I mean,
And
he
this
said
is the
he was trans. I don't,
yeah.
to me that is opening up a window into my heart that says I'm still transphobic because I would have a
Yeah.
problem with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the crux of it, of the fact that you and I'm gonna speak from my opinion of me and my relationship with my biological father. Me and my biological father do not have a relationship. He actually has told my sister that he has a dead son, right? Like he doesn't even see me as alive in his eyes anymore. And so but the reason, and I feel this is my opinion on why I feel that he feels this way, is because he's incredibly narcissistic and he sees that I was supposed to be a reflection of who he was and not my own individual person. And for some reason, for me not showing up the way he wanted me to is a fate worse than death for me. And so he rather live in a fantasy that I have died than to accept the fact that I am his daughter and I'm thriving and I'm having a fantastic life as a trans woman. But like you got to think of the fact that you do not own your children. They grow up and they become who they are. And this happens not just with trans stuff. Like I know families that have broken apart because because a child doesn't want to take over the family business, right? It's like how dare they want to be an artist instead of taking over the family business, for example.
Hey, so you're
Go
saying
ahead.
that it's almost not even the issue of trans, it's the issue of like my own expectations regardless of what it is, and
Mhm.
and more like my own personal baggage, and has nothing to do with the kid at all necessarily. Could be,
That's
or
yeah,
could be.
that's about right. That's about right. And because I think that if you were to talk to any other person in your life that come out as trans, and I see that you're still working on this, you'd be like, great, you're trans, cool, you can do whatever you want. But a second it's close to somebody that you have an expectation for, like your son,
Mm,
it now becomes a hit against you as a person
mm,
instead
that
of
makes sense.
being there for the tough part of a child being trans. So rather than say embracing them and say I'm here for whatever you need me to be, it is more of a rejection of how could
Mm,
you do this, right? And if a child trusts you enough to tell you whatever their dreams, their hopes, their experiences, that's a gift. But if you violate that gift and that trust of your child when you reject instead of accept, right? Now,
okay.
that's something just to think about internally.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I know you have other callers, and I really, really, really appreciate the time. I appreciate you guys being patient with me and helping me grow and learn. And I'll continue to be watching the show. The line has been such a great resource for me in this period of my deconstruction, and I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate you, Stephen. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us.
All right. Cheers.
All right. Bye.
Bye. We only have one person waiting. Y'all, there's some keyboard warriors in the chat.
Oh my gosh, there's so many.
Yeah, there's like so many of you guys. The entire point of this show is that you can call in and speak to us directly. So if you disagree with us in the comments, like I'm not going to engage with you and you're likely just going to be muted by our mods in the chat. We don't allow debate in the chat. That's not what the chat is for. If you want to debate, if you have a disagreement, you can call us. And as you've just seen, we are clearly capable of handling disagreements without yelling at you or whatever. So frankly, like if you have something to say, you like prepare to have your questions answered. We are here to educate you. We are here to inform. We're here to challenge those beliefs. Like if you have a study that you think just absolutely cancels out every single thing that we've said, if you have some here's one. Please explain to me why you are against gender affirming care for youth, but you support circumcision. Love to have that conversation today. So seriously, we've got open lines. Like we're going to be
Yeah.
here for another 2 hours. Well, really only taking calls for another hour and a half, but we'll spend at least 20 minutes talking to you if you
You
have a
you know
disagreement.
you know what's so interesting about this is like I'll watch like Jovan, or I'll watch like other folks that are like cis people. No offense to our friends here, but they're usually cis people, and they get all the trans calls. You know how many times it's like because they're afraid to actually confront an actual calm well versed in trans person that is able to meet them at the level even when they have, hateful views or point of views. It's like I just don't understand. It's like just there's so many people who are just cowards and don't want to actually have the conversation with actual trans people about the lived experience of being trans. Like, yeah. Like and it's interesting because I'm about to be 6 years trans in March, like as far as like, medically. I mean, it's been 6 years open to myself. So it's kind of like I've been through this freaking carnival, and I'm ready to explain and tell folks what it is. And look, I come from a conservative background. Like, I've had to deal with the trauma of losing family, but I've also been able to deal with and experience the beauty of having conservative family members come around and love me deeper than I've ever had their love before. And so like if you want to actually talk to somebody who has that experience beyond just like the conversations they have with trans friends, like talk to us. Like seriously. We don't we won't be angry, we match people's energy. That's how it works.
Exactly.
So,
I saw someone in the chat say, like, it seems like people are more interested in talking about trans people than to trans people. Like, people, like,
mhm.
Forrest gets all these calls. Like, why is this cis man, again, no hate on Forrest, he's awesome. Like, but why is this cis man being treated as the expert on trans issues as though, like, my being out for 15 years or Josie's being out for 6 years doesn't count for anything?
Yeah.
So, honestly, like,
And
treat us with some respect.
And it's like I'm literally an author on a study about the health and well-being of trans people. Like come on. Like 92,000 people surveyed in that survey and in the study. And so and people are still afraid to actually have a conversation. Like it's just it's just like they just want to talk about us
Yeah.
as an abstract. But so call in, and also at the end of the show we will also do our super chats. So $5 or more, make sure that you do hashtag Team Josie, hashtag Team Lux, and then we'll read them at the end. And then the loser of the challenge, which is the person who gets the least of the hashtags, will have to defend a funny position. And those positions are: the draft sends you to Drag Race, gays glow under black light, and cisgenders is just the phase. So if you want to see us, have that little conversation, make sure you participate in the super chat battle.
Yeah. And if you don't have money, that's okay. Just click like on the video. And if you click share, I would also appreciate that because we want this message to get out to more people. If you're frustrated that only only Forrest and Jovan get the good trans calls, then help us by boosting this to more people. I do also want to say I did go on with Jovan on Tuesday night for the Jimmy Snow and the Line show, and it was a lot of fun. It was a great episode. If y'all haven't gone back and watched it, you should go watch it and be on the lookout for the clips that are going to come out because honestly, I think it was a blast, and we're planning on doing another show sometime in the future. Perhaps I'm gonna join Jovan on his stream. So
Ooh.
I'm taking advantage of the fact that these cis men, everybody wants to talk to them about trans issues. So I'm just gonna be like, and also I'm here. Uh,
Uh-huh.
yes. So we are still taking
Yeah.
calls 720-619-2288. What were you gonna say, Josie?
Oh, I was just gonna say it looks like we got another call that came in. You
Yes,
want to
yes,
go ahead
yes.
and take it?
Oh, Jovan said to call. Okay, well,
Yeah.
we're gonna take Chris, he, him pronouns from Maryland. Chris, you are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going?
Yeah.
Hello,
Love me,
hello.
Maryland.
Um, so so I basically just had like questions because I talked to Jovan like a few days ago, basically asking about like just trans people in general. He did like break down to me how there's a difference of like sex and gender, and I kind of understand that. The thing that I'm like kind of like lost on, I guess, is like how trans people I don't want to say, I don't think feels the right word, but that's like the only word that I have. I guess like feel their gender or feel who they are, because like he tried to explain it, but he's not trans, so I wanted to like I guess
talk to like trans people about it.
Oh, thank
Sure.
you for calling in. I appreciate it. So Chris, are you a man?
Yes.
Why?
Um, the answer that I gave Jovan was because I have a penis, but then he told me that if I didn't have one, then I still be a man, and I said yes. So I guess I just am because it's just who I am.
Yeah, congratulations. You know what it's like to have a gender identity. That's and I don't mean to be pandactic, but that's basically kind of how it is. It's hard to put your finger on it, right? It's something that you, Chris, know what man is for you. So therefore, I can't tell you what your manhood is. Only you can tell me that you're a man. So it's the same thing with the trans identity. I'm a trans woman and I am a woman, and I can be like, I can try to tell you why, but it comes out to be the same thing that you come out to be, right? Where it's just like, well, I'm a woman because I am, like, that's just how it is. And that's the identity, that's the gender piece, that's the social construction that you have inside of you that is really hard to put words to it. That's why Jovan actually says it's the general schema of what you think, a man is in your own mind, and that's how it comes to be in yourself. Um, what are your thoughts on that? Just
Um,
generally about the idea that you have a hard time defining your own manhood.
I honestly, when I like sit here and I think about it, I can genuinely say that like I personally never thought about it. Like I've never had to
Mhm.
like sit there and think about like who I am like as a person. So like with the unfortunate stuff that's going on towards like trans people in our country right now, like it kind of made me like become like more aware, I guess, about like I don't know like who I am as a person, and like I just really wanted to like I guess like understand trans people, seeing that like well like you guys obviously can't see me, but I am black. So like I consider
Mhm.
myself to be like very pro black just in general. So I just like I guess like when I look at like the social hierarchy that we do have in America, usually women are going to be subjected to terrible things, and so I kind of like put it together like if you're black and then you're trans and then you're also a woman, that you're probably also going to be at like the bottom. So I genuinely just wanted to understand trans people more because it would just align with like I guess like who I am as a person, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it does, and I really appreciate you calling about that. And you know, we said it earlier in the show as well. It's like you don't have to understand something to accept it, right? And that's really what it comes down to. Don't know what it's like to be a man. Even though I'm a trans woman and lived as a, and I quote unquote man for 34 years, it was still a caricature of what I thought a man was, right? From working out, learning, knowing about football and all. I don't even like football. I don't even like beer, but I drank a lot of it, and I watched a lot of football because I thought that's what men were supposed to do. And all the different like markers of like what I thought man was actually wasn't actually what I know manhood to be, because I don't know what it's like to be a man outside of being treated as one for a short period of time. I don't know I have no idea what it's like. But when I came out as a woman, it was like snap of the fingers. I knew exactly how I felt, and it felt great. And I was like, wow, I don't have to pretend anymore. I can just be myself. I can just live my life the way I want to live without having to have this like stage performance of who I used to be anymore. And I got to just like grow my hair out. I got to wear the clothes that I've always wanted to wear. It was that. And I'll say this to you, Chris, too. Like, if you were like in a weird situation and they were like to say, Chris, you got to be a woman, and then you had to then like pretend to be a woman, you probably wouldn't know where to start, or you would just start picking things that you think are women things, and it would be
Yeah.
awkward and it would be weird, and people wouldn't know what kind of woman are you? What is going on? That's the experience I had with manhood. People are like, "Why you're a man, but you talk differently and you say ba ba ba," and I was like, I don't know. I used to I didn't even know how to dress properly. I would ask all of my friends around me, "Does this look good? Does this look okay? But when I had like a beard and mustache, I was like, does this face line up look good? Like I would genuinely ask other humans if I looked good as a man because I had no idea. So I think you would probably have the same experience if someone were to force you to be a woman and live as a woman. You'd probably have the same type of thoughts and understanding. So if that, I know it's not going to be the 100% understanding of what it's like to be trans, but put yourself in that hypothetical.
Okay. Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think if anybody were to tell me to like just go be a woman, I wouldn't even know where to start, honestly. So yeah, that honestly puts it into like I guess better perspective for me. Um, I also just want to say I'm like super happy for like both of you for like living and being who you are. Like even though that there's like a whole bunch of like terrible stuff that does unfortunately like go around like trans people just in general. Like I'm genuinely like really happy that you guys like exist and that you have the show and that you have a platform to help like other people in general. I think it's like amazing. Um, but like I guess like those are kind of like all the questions that like I really like had. I just kind of wanted like I guess like from like your perspective essentially about like just transness in general. Um, I just didn't want to be like I never want to be like or come off as like a bigot. I want to like be like welcoming and accepting to like everybody. And for me personally, knowledge um tends to help me be like more accepting as a whole. So I just genuinely wanted to learn today,
Oh,
and I do
appreciate
appreciate
it.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lux, did you want to add anything?
I mean, I just appreciate that your moral compass is what's guiding this kind of process for you. And I understand, like, I know some people are like, well, you don't need to understand it to respect it. Well, it does make it easier. And like my lack of knowledge about like racial disparities, like I think that that's part of what makes people racist. But when I started listening to Black people, I came to have a deeper and more intimate understanding of what they were going through, so that I can grapple with that and I can center their issues when it's necessary. So like I appreciate that you were like, I need to be morally consistent here, and that for me requires like getting to know these people better. So yeah, I appreciate you, Chris, and I'm glad that you called in.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Could I just say like one last thing? I don't know
Yeah,
from
please.
Sure.
like from like the parallels like that I'm seeing of like how trans people are being treated in like well now 2026. It's direct parallels for me and how they were like and how like Black people were treated like during Jim Crow. The not wanting them
Mm.
to be in bathrooms, not wanting them to compete in sports, not wanting them to essentially have like basic human decency and just be seen as human. America is very much so stripping them of that, and it does that to a lot of minorities, almost every last minority, including like women, which is half the population. So that's genuinely why like I really wanted to like talk to you, talk to both of you honestly, and just learn and become more insightful because the direct correlation between I guess like transphobia and racism they have direct parallels, and it's kind of insane when you really like take a step back and look at it from like that lens in general. But I seen the bigotry coming, and it just seemed like essentially America repeating the same thing that it repeats every 2 to 3 years, depending on which
Yep.
minority group it wants to attack during that specific decade. Um,
Yep.
Yeah,
so
we
that's
are in it
yeah, that's
together.
like basic.
Yeah, we are. We're all in this together. So I appreciate you, Chris, and it's always nice to talk to another Marylander. All
Yep. I hope you both of you have a fantastic day. Thank you for talking to me.
right. Yeah,
You too,
thank you.
Chris.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.
All right, we've had
You
somebody
want?
waiting for a little
Yeah,
bit
I
that I
was
was
gonna say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are going to bring in Andy, he, him pronouns from Ohio, who wants to talk about gender as a social construct. Andy, you are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Psyched. What do you want to talk about today?
Um, so I completely understand that gender and sex are completely different, and like I know that like gender roles and that kind of shit that's social, but I don't understand how like gender identity is social.
I mean,
Yeah.
they're all one kind of big complicated package deal, right? Like how could you separate gender expression from gender identity in a context where like your gender expression is part of how you communicate what your identity is, right? Like when a trans woman puts on a push-up bra and wears long hair, she's using the language that our society has constructed to communicate to people like, hey, I'm a woman. And so it's like all kind of tangled in together. And like how you interact with people, how people treat you, that's the social element of it. It's like there is this internal identity component, but it's like how do you identify as a gender without there being a social idea that you were taught of what a gender is supposed to be like, you know? So I kind of view it as like a mixture of like a social and an internal psychological or biological reality. Um, and it's all kind of messy, which I guess is part of what makes it so that people disregard the concepts. Like, yeah, well, money is also a complicated concept, and we have to exchange money when we go to a new country, and the value of money changes over time. Um, so yeah, I don't know, Josie, if you want to get in on that. I don't know if I explained myself very well.
No, it's fine. And Andy, like, so just to clarify, you're talking about like the construct itself of like womanhood and manhood, or is that what you're essentially talking about?
Or I guess it's complicated because I'm thinking back to that first call. Like I don't know if it's just like my own brand of autism, but like I'm a trans man myself, and
Mhm.
like if I was stuck on a deserted island, like I'd still be a man.
Mhm. Yeah,
But if you were born
absolutely.
on a deserted island, would you still be a man?
Like I would imagine so because like I've had dysphoria for a really long time. Like it just doesn't feel right to
Even if you
be in
met no other
a
human,
body.
you met no other human, you were just raised alone on an island somewhere.
So the question
Well,
isn't,
I guess
would you
that's
have
hard
dysphoria?
to imagine.
You could have dysphoria about your
Yeah.
body parts. And that's like, to me, that's the brain body map distinction. That's like the biological component where your brain has an understanding of your body. But like, if you didn't have the language or any reflections of other people to understand yourself through, like, that's part of what it is to be a social species. Like, we understand the self through the lens of the people around us. So I would just say that, like, they're deeply entangled, but I don't know. Like, I have no idea what I identify as trans if we lived in a future gender anarchist or gender abolitionist society like Star Trek, where it's like you can just go get a surgery and like nobody cares. It's like, I don't know if I would feel so strongly about my transness if it weren't for the fact that like gender is such a huge component of our society now.
Yeah, and to make it, I guess, more conceptual, because it is hard to be like, oh, if I was on an island by myself raised, I'd probably act like a wolf. But I would I would say that if you were to think about if the gender roles were let's not say swapped, because that's harder to say, but let's say like it was customary for like the men in society to stay home and cook and sire children, in a sense of like making sure that they're the people who are in the home doing it, where in our current social construct, at least early in our society, whereas like women were the homemakers and all of that type of stuff. um I ask myself this question all the time, or I used to, not so much anymore. But I'd be like, would that mean that I would still hang out with the girls, right? I would still want to be where the girls are, because that's my community. Those are the people that I connect with the most. And I think that to me is more what I think I would be. in my mind. And maybe that's just like the thing about gender is like you just want to be with the people that relate with your sense of self and identity, and those are the people who have like the lived shared experiences that you really feel connected with. And maybe I would maybe have social roles and social conditioning in my own head differently than the way it is currently now as well. And I think that's what makes social construction of gender so complicated, because like you got to think back in even before, like, like in old America, like, pink and high heels and were all like masculine things. Children, no matter if they were born male or female, would be wearing dresses until age 5 before they put them in different clothing. And so there's like a lot of weird things that society has done. And I think it would be the same thing. And I've talked to people who are trans, like Muslims, right? And that wear hijabs, and I asked them if it was like, if the social construction was different and men were to wear, and she was a trans woman, and if men were wearing hijabs, would you be wearing a hijab? And she was probably like, no, probably not. Which was really interesting, right? Because it's kind of like the idea of like the social construction inside of the religion is like, no, women got to hide their hair for modesty. So she felt that she needed to hide her hair for modesty. So there is a lot of really interesting things about social construction, and a lot of it has to do with culture as well. So I don't know if that helps you at all, Andy.
No, that does make sense, like, especially with the hijab thing. So, like, is it just because this I don't know, just because 'cause we're human? I don't
Yeah, maybe. I think we are social creatures. We, humans are incredibly social. That's why, like, if you put a person in solitary confinement without connection with the world, they absolutely go out of their mind and actually cause mental damage to themselves. That's why it's a seen as a form of torture. Again, it's a human rights violation to put somebody in solitary confinement for a certain period of time. And they've done this with horrible studies on chimpanzees as well. And they see that even primates in the animal kingdom have very deep social connections, and when they're isolated they also lose their minds. And so I think it has a lot to do with that primitive part of our brain that has a need for social connection. And I think it has a lot to do with survival. And I think that has a lot to do with that little like lizard part of our brain of like, these are my people, I connect with these people, I need to be with these people, and these are the people I'm safe with. And I think that's why we have that like tribal nature with gender in a lot of ways. And it was also assigned to us by pan-Europeanism and whiteness and colonialism, kind of put more rigid rules around social construction around gender as well, where before in other cultures there really was, it was more blended as far as social construction was. And I think that because colonialism put us into such rigid boxes, I think it was human survival to go into one or the other. And I think that's another thing that's happened, because humans are weird and we do stupid things to ourselves by putting weird cultural needs on ourselves rather than just letting us grow up and be who we want to be and be part of the groups that we want to be a part of. But yeah, now I'm getting really anthropological and society and sociological as well. Um, so it's very complex and interesting.
So I guess it's just, like, how our brains evolved, and it's really impossible to separate modern humanity from society.
Hmm. Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. Because doing so is a human rights violation. Like, we can't even study it without creating a violation of somebody's human rights.
Yeah.
And so we just have to deal with the hands that is drawn, and we just have to live in the society that we're born in. It's very zeitgeisty to say that, right? It's like if we were born 100 years in the future or 100 years in the past, we'd probably still be trans. We just like different things. It's a really weird thing to say. But I think that's probably the way it would be. It's just
Yeah,
it's
and like what if
yeah.
I was a fish? I don't know. I just have
Yeah.
fish society. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly, right? It's like it's hard to put into like it's hard to put yourself in a different culture and time period when you didn't live in that culture or time period. All you have is the now, and now your version of manhood is who you are, Andy, and my version of womanhood is who I am. So therefore, I just live in it. Like I didn't create the social construction, I only live in it.
True, yeah.
So yeah. I hope that helps, or I just made it more complex. I don't know. I might have made I might have
But
made it less
yeah,
clear.
it got some gears turning. It's interesting to think about for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right. Well, is there anything else? Sorry to keep you on hold for so long.
Oh, you're good. I guess donate to Josie's campaign. It's in the
Yeah.
description.
Yes, thank you.
Very
Thank
true.
you for that. I really appreciate you, Mandy.
Well, thanks, Andy. We appreciate your call and hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. Have a good stream.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Lines are still open. They're gonna continue to be open for at least another half an hour. So if you have a disagreement with us, if you you want to have some beef, you have beef you need to bring to the table. Josie doesn't want any, but I will partake of the beef. Um,
No, I like a good vegan beef. It's nice.
yeah. I want to get an Impossible Burger one of these days. I think I've had one, but it's been a number of years, and I feel like the technology has improved since
You can
then.
just make one. Just go to the store, get yourself an Impossible Patty, and just make it the way you like it.
That's true. Okay,
And
this is a kind of debate topic. I just want to sideline for a second here. We do have a couple calls waiting. I firmly believe that it's better if you put the toppings of the burger under the burger, still in the bun situation. But I think bottomings are superior to toppings.
I mean, bottoms are superior to tops. I mean,
See, everybody agrees.
oh man, why you're like bringing the mayo debate like hardcore? I actually am somebody who likes to put the topping on top of the burger patty. Like that. That's who I am. Yeah, yeah. That's super controversial.
I
Yeah.
know. I really miss, since moving away from the Midwest, I miss Culver's. First of all, butter burger, it's going to be delicious if it's called a butter burger, but also it's like they always do the bottomings, and I think it changes the flavor
So what do
profile.
you? So when you eat a burger at a place that does it the other way, do you just turn the burger upside down and eat
No,
it
I'm
that way?
lazy. No, I don't. I just think it's better. I'm not going to like change anything. With that's funny though. It's a very autistic thing to be like, I'm going to eat the bun with the correctly, even though I prefer it flipped over. Maybe I should. Maybe I should start
You
flipping my
should. You
burgers
should.
over.
Yeah, exactly. Just start flipping it.
Yeah. Anyway, that was
Like
a complete sideline.
yeah.
We have a couple calls waiting. I'm interested in 24/7. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
All right, we're going to bring in Olivia, she, her pronouns, from Arizona. Olivia, you are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. If Call-In Studio will catch up with me, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me. Now, but we're going to need to back up, though, about the burger thing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Because
What is your
Controversy.
opinion?
you need to
Yes.
clarify something here, Lux. When
Yeah.
you say the veggies and stuff go on the bottom, where does the sauce go?
I think like some sauce on the top and bottom. Like, we
I
don't
don't,
want the
I
top of the
don't.
burger to be dry.
That's weird, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm okay with it. Listen, I'm living my truth and no one's going to stop me.
All
Well,
right,
what did you
fair
want to talk
enough.
about today, Olivia?
We're all trans here, so that's how it goes, I
Yeah.
suppose.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I wanted to call in because something that I feel like is a topic that a lot of people see as black and white, but does genuinely have some nuance to it. is when it comes to genital preference. Now, obviously, there's a lot of transphobes that pull that argument, saying like stupid things like, "Oh, a trans person should have to say what genitals they have up front," or something like that. Or people who are terminally online probably remember the super straight thing from a couple years ago.
Oh God.
That was just like a blatant dog whistle.
Blast from the past there.
But,
memory hold that one.
Yeah.
yeah. But at the same time, I don't think that there is genuinely like, I don't think that it immediately means that someone's transphobic if they do have a genuine genital preference. So I'm curious what you two have to think about that. If you think that it is just like always a dog whistle, or do you think that there is room for middle ground there?
I mean, I have an opinion. If you're wanting to reserve your thoughts for a second.
Go, yeah. And I would like to hear your opinion before I give mine.
So I want to be clear that transphobia does not always mean overt hatred of trans people, right? Just like racism doesn't always mean overt hatred of Black people or whatever. And you can be well-meaning and still fall into those categories. So like if you touch a Black person's hair without their permission, that is still a racial microaggression. It is still racist, even though maybe you didn't mean for it to be mean to them or anything like that. If you think you're a good person and you just didn't think through the consequences of that. So for me, transphobia in this regard is like, okay, first of all, I think that people are deeply ignorant about trans bodies, deeply ignorant about like how we smell, like how our bodies interact, like how like the skin texture changes when you're on hormones and stuff. So and like as well, the assumption about how trans people want to use their genitals. So if someone is like, oh, I would never date someone with a penis, it's like, I think that there is a lot of like cis sexist assumptions involved in that about like how a person plans to use their penis. You don't know if she even wants you to touch it, much less it functions like you expect it to, and she wants to use it the way that you typically expect it to. So I think that there is like a deconstruction that needs to happen where people are like more aware of the reality and not approaching that conversation with those assumptions. And often when you probe people who are saying this, they often still don't want to have sex with a post-operative trans person. So what you have dug into is they have like it's like functionally saying like, I don't date Black people because of a bunch of assumptions about how Black people behave. Like, I don't want to date a trans person because they're trans, because I'm worried it would make me gay. Or like, well, it would feel different. Or, well, you start probing in and they're like, well, I don't want to be with someone who can't bear children. And then you go, okay, well, do you screen every cis woman you date and like ask her if she's fertile before you start dating her? It's like what we find when we dig into the subject is when people say, I have a genital preference, what they mean is I'm trying to put like one potentially reasonable barrier up. But really what I mean is I will not date a trans person. So I just find like with the combination of like the ignorant assumptions and that every single time I have this conversation with people, it just boils down to, I don't want to date a trans person because it's icky. Like I just don't see how it couldn't be rife with a bunch of functionally transphobic beliefs.
What are your thoughts, Olivia, after hearing all that? And then I'll give you my opinion.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, I definitely see what you're saying, and I completely agree that like the vast majority of time that that kind of argument comes up, it is just I want some kind of socially acceptable reason to not date a trans person. I definitely understand where you're coming from there, and I agree to a certain extent. But I feel like there does need to be a bit of grace given in some situations, because I mean, just speaking personally, I'm a trans woman, bisexual, but I am just not into vagina. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't do it for me. I'm into cis men. I'm into trans women who are non-op. I've even like met trans women that other trans women that like, how do I put this? Like I'm less attracted to them after SRS to a certain extent. I don't know what it is. Maybe it is some kind of weird issue that I should need to work through, but it's just I'm just not into vagina, and I feel like that's I don't know. I feel like that should be valid, but maybe you two disagree.
I feel like we're running into a language problem. It's not a preference if it's a deal breaker. It's like, okay, I have a genital preference. I have more experience with penises. I prefer that. Like there's like less smell going on. There's like fewer fluids, or the fluids are more predictable. Like I have a preference. That's not the same as saying I refuse to engage with, or I'm completely turned off by people with a vulva. So like if people want to say like I have a genital aversion, I almost respect that more, because again, it just feels like you're trying to use softer language to hedge and make it seem like less bad than it is or something. And it's like, just say, I refuse to date people with a vulva. If that's what it is, like I have an aversion, I am turned off by. It's not a preference if it's a hard no.
Yeah. Um, so I agree with a lot what Lux said at the beginning, about the fact that it is a lot of times used as a cop out. I always tongue in cheek say, "Don't knock it till you try it" type situation, especially with folks that. The things that give me frustrated with people sometimes with the genital preference conversation are people who have never experienced the other side of it. It's like, well, have you it's like, is it and this is how I would say it to like cis men that I've dated, and it's like, well, it's not the same. It's a girl part. Like it's like Lux said, with the whole like hormone profiles change things dramatically. Dramatically. And so it's like one of those situations, and then it's just hard to say. And I guess like for your case, Olivia, like if you are just like, yeah, I don't want to date somebody with a vulva, that's fine. um I'm a bisexual woman, so I don't understand. I don't understand. Like for me, it's just like everything's fun. I don't like if I'm like on a date with a trans person, it's like whatever whatever happens is a surprise, and it's gonna be a lovely one no matter what. I don't even ask because I don't even wanna. It's like don't tell me, like it's a part of the fun for me.
It's a
Because
gender
it's
reveal.
yeah, it's sex reveal. Yeah. So for me, it's like I don't understand it, so it's hard for me to kind of like comment on it because I don't have that problem. In my mind of like I don't get it. I'm like everything's fun. Like what are you talking about? It's it's a fun time if you're at that intimacy with somebody else, and maybe it's the intimacy with somebody else that I like and more about the physical action. And I think that is part of like how I categorize it. It's like I enjoy the human that I'm with, and I'm going to enjoy that time with that human. Um, and it doesn't really matter. And maybe that's just, and then I guess there are some people who are more into the physicality of it rather than the emotional or intimate bonding that happens during the moment. So I just don't understand it. So for me, I'm not gonna knock anybody that says it, because I just don't understand it. I accept people for how they show up and how they want to show up. I just don't get it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm done. That's all I have to say is like
Okay.
as a bisexual woman that likes people, I'm just like, eh. It's an adventure no matter how
I
it
guess,
goes.
yeah, I gotcha. I guess the most surprising thing to me is just like hearing that. I mean, maybe this is just our differences of like how we perceive bisexuality. I call myself bisexual because, like, phenotypically speaking, I'm attracted to both like,
Mhm.
I guess you could say, sets of sex characteristics. Um, But then when it comes down to genitals, I don't know. I guess that's where there's a big difference because, like you said, you're just down for anything. And for me, it does end up being a factor. Like I don't even like looking at like adult material of vaginas, but like very much, very much into penises.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm the thing I'm most curious on is like, is this genuinely something that you two have like never run into this concept? Like, have you just always assumed it was always a dog whistle?
I mean, I there was one time there was a guy who didn't know I was trans, and I was like, it was my fault. It was my fault. I'll say that. I screwed up my Tinder profile and I thought I put trans woman and I put queer woman instead. So like at the coffee date, I was like talking about coming out and da 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 da, and he's just like looking at me like, come out as a lesbian, because I was like dating a guy. and and I was like, no, it's trans, and he's just like, and I was like, wait, you didn't know? And then the genital, that was the first time that I was ever confronted with somebody who was like, no, I have a genital preference. But I was like, "Don't knock it till you try it." Essentially, after he thought about it, and things, he's like, "Actually, I would like to see you again." I was like, "Great," and and that's kind of how it went. It was like he never put himself in a place where he had that opportunity, so he was like, "Oh, well, maybe I do want to try this," and it was fine. But that was the only time that that's ever come up in a non-transphobic way. But ultimately he was like, "No, I like you. I think you're cool." And I was like, "Cool, whatever. Like, let's
Yeah.
go." So I
I
don't know.
haven't dated in a long time, so I've been just in monogamous relationship for a long time. It's like I've had this conversation though a lot of the times, and it's through the experience of having the conversation over and over again that I have come to the understanding that typically when cis people say they have a genital preference, it just is them having like a transphobic assumption. It literally reads to me the same as saying like, I don't date black people. Like, what the fuck do you mean you don't date black people? Like, that's a crazy thing to say to me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it's like there is no way to say that without being like, well, it's because they're ugly or because they have an attitude. Like, it's always one of those things, or like, oh, we just don't vibe culturally or something. Like, okay, whatever. So it's only through experience of having the conversation that I have come to the belief that like most of the time when people say they have a genital preference and that's why they don't want to date trans people, that it's like, okay, well, what if she's post-op? What if you can't even tell? Then they just move the goalpost to something else. And it's like,
yeah,
okay, you're just saying I don't want to date trans people. So either have the guts to say that or get out of my face. But like, yeah, and again, I just think it's maybe a language issue where if you're like, I refuse to date someone with XYZ genitals, or I refuse to date women. Like, so this is the thing. People are always like, well, are you saying that a lesbian just needs to work on her hangups so that she's more open to dating men? It's like, I'm not saying that anyone needs to do anything. Oh, my camera froze. Let me fix that.
yeah. You're good. You're good.
Okay, there we're
I
back.
can see.
So yeah, I just think like people should examine their biases. Like, what is it about a trans person that you don't think is desirable? Or just like be more direct. If you're like bisexual, you're like, I'm bisexual, but I don't do P word. Like, okay, like just don't call it a preference because that's annoying because it's literally that's the autism kicking in where I'm like, it's literally not a preference if you refuse to engage. Like if you prefer to not eat meat, that's different than saying I'm a vegan, I will not eat meat. Like
Yeah.
there is a distinction there that I think I would rather people just like be more willing to be direct with their preferences, I guess. Like I don't know.
Yeah. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Whatever you're
just
serving at the table, I'm eating it. So
yeah, yeah. Unless it's not vegan, then
there you go.
I'll
Yeah. But I think
But yeah.
we have a couple more calls waiting. If you want to get your last comments in, or if you have any final questions, Olivia, I'll leave the table open for you.
Yeah. Well, I guess then what did you say your suggestion was to call it instead of a preference to be more accurate, like
An
linguistically?
aversion.
Yeah, aversion or a deal breaker or something. Like,
Yeah.
if it is a deal breaker, if it is I refuse to have sex with someone with a vulva, then be direct about that.
Yeah. And I don't know
Or
if
a turn
you're,
off or something. I don't know.
yeah. And Olivia, I don't know if you're polyamorous or monogamous, but boy, I think about that and I was like, man, that makes first dates awkward. Like, I'm just like, for me, it's like, I don't know how you deal with that first date. Like, for me, I'm just like, I don't care. So it never comes up in my first date. So it's kind of like, it's gotta be rough.
I'll be honest, I mostly date trans women that like. Well, how do
That
I
you
put this?
already know.
I guess trans women tend to be more open to tell other trans women if they're if they've had anything done.
I'm like, how does that play with the fact that so many trans women have dysphoria? If you're like, okay, I know that you want bottom surgery someday, and I will stop dating you when that happens. Like, that's gotta be fucking rough.
That is rough.
That's part of why
That's a
people
good
don't like
point. I haven't had that
chasers, is
happen
because you're
yet.
like, you're pursuing the part of my body that I would love to get rid of.
Yeah.
I've yet to run into anyone where that came up to be an issue, but that's a really good point. I guess I will have to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to grill you or anything, Olivia. I love you, and you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cis
Yeah.
people that I get annoyed with mostly
Yeah.
on this topic.
Yeah, I'm not really
It's
judging the
a
trans
genuinely good
folks.
point. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for this very stimulating conversation. I appreciate you, and look forward to talking to you again in the future.
Thank you. You go take care.
Bye. Oh, Colin Studio. There we go. Okay. Oh God, what time is it? It is 3:45. So we've got a couple more calls on the line. I guess we'll probably leave lines open for a little while longer if anybody wants to get in here. And then we're going to switch over to super chats probably at around in 45 minutes from now. So don't forget to get those super chats in with your votes of hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Josie to vote on which one you want to win. The loser has to defend a silly position. What did you guys vote on? I think we're overwhelmingly cisgender is just a phase has won out. So whoever loses has to defend the position that being cis is just a phase. If you don't have $5, don't worry about it. Just hit the like button and that will make me just as happy. So thank you for supporting the show. Thanks for hanging out and being here with us. About 500 people in here. So I feel like there should be at least 500 likes on the video.
At least.
You're going to be in trouble otherwise. With that, I guess let's just take the one who's been on for a little bit longer. We're going to bring on Nikki, she, her pronouns from Illinois. You are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going?
Hello, it's going well. I just wanted to call in and kind of get some thoughts about when to reconcile with family and what to kind of look for, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess
I feel like Josie, I have not really reconciled with most of my family.
Where this is coming from.
Yeah. So could you give me a little context? Because I have dealt with this a lot in my early transition days. Is there explain to me with not too many words your situation?
So I came out 2 years ago. It started with my parents. My parents kind of sped up things because they proceeded to doubt me to other siblings and the rest of the family. And now I'm at a point where I've started to reconnect with my sister. We've yet to meet up again, but I've unblocked her and we've been talking briefly. And I'm kind of, I wasn't expecting to reconcile, at least not, I just wasn't expecting it. There is my family is all Lutheran, Missouri Synod religious background. Even if they don't quite follow that to today, that's still very prevalent. And with my sister, she's sent a letter that says she's kind of had a change of views to some degree. I don't know how far that goes. And for Christmas, she surprised me with a gift that you would not send to a male sibling.
Mhm.
And that's kind of what triggered all of this. Is it that was kind of enough to show me, okay, there's enough difference here to reopen the door, see what happens.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. If you don't mind me asking,
but go for it.
what was the initial fissure?
It was primarily my parents. They've said a lot, and I won't repeat it all here, but very
Of
transphobic,
course.
very hateful. Enough. I had 4 phone calls where it was essentially a screaming match for my mom and me, just kind of very quietly and very sanely handling that for like 40 minutes apiece. Um,
Mm,
and with my siblings, it was more they saw no issues with the behavior of my parents, and they saw no reason to really take a side. There was, if anything, they were more on my parents' side, if not neutral. And they more or less got blocked in a I just can't deal with family right now type of thing.
got
It
it.
wasn't necessarily that they did anything directly, but they were not helping. So
So,
distance.
not
Um,
so this is a question I want to ask because it does matter because like the hatred from my father, my biological father, is fairly unreconcilable. I sent him a long text at one point saying, "Hey, whenever you want to chat, I'm ready, whatever." But that's not happening. But with my mother, it was a conversation that she also was concerned about me, but didn't have the right words to express it. And I used to say the transphobia came from a loving place is a really hard word, a hard sentence to say, where her transphobia was, I'm worried that your life is going to be over. I'm worried that you are ruining your life. You don't do this. It's a bad idea. Like if you can, don't like that's essentially where my mother was coming from, and that's how I was able to reconcile a lot of the conversation. We just needed time, right? That's what it was. It was just a lot of time. My sister, we didn't talk for about a year, and as well. And she called me up and was like, "Hey, I'm tired of being mad at you," and I was like, "Great." And then we started the conversation, and now we're as close as we ever been. And so when I ask, and I know I don't want you to like relive those angry conversations, were the angry conversations about you being a bad person, or were they worried for you of like you're ruining your life?
both. On my mom's side, the one that stuck out the most to me was very early on when I was coming out. I think this was like the first phone call. My mom made it very clear, and I don't. Is there any language restraints?
No, you're fine.
Okay. With my mom, there was more transphobic pointed things, but she made a statement about I better be dead before you ever transition. Um, there's
Mm,
also plenty of religious input on here, like you're going to hell, etc.
mm, got it.
So with my mom, it's a combination of hate and also concern about ruining my life.
Okay.
It's a weird
And
connection
okay,
there. Um,
yeah, I get it. And on your dad's side?
my dad could he doesn't have opinions. He takes whatever my mom wants, essentially.
Got it.
Um, I could
Okay.
probably make up with him if my mom was not in the picture, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, whatever my mom wants is what my dad ends up doing, no matter if
And
it's cutting off access to their firstborn or matter of worse.
how
Um,
many years have you been out now?
2. I
Okay.
came out 2023, August of
Uh-huh.
2023, and that went very poorly. Um,
Okay. I'm sorry to hear that.
it's
So
it's what it is.
have they seen any pictures of you recently?
They saw me at my grandma's funeral just this past uh, Thanksgiving-ish time area. I forget the actual
Oh,
time.
That's very
Um,
similar to me when I saw my family again was my grandmother's funeral. It was about a year and a half, 2 years after I started my transition. And
yeah,
what was the reaction when they saw you? Because you've changed a lot
they
in those
acted
2
like
years,
nothing
I'm
changed.
sure.
They acted like
Really?
nothing changed. They
Okay.
they I was my grandma requested me to be a pallbearer because and my grandma was my most accepting family member, so I did this for her.
Sure.
I did it
I understand
because
that.
it's what I was told what she wanted. Um,
Yeah.
so I went along with what they were wanting for the funeral, and that was being a pallbearer. But when it came to my name on the pamphlets they printed, they had no hesitation on using old names. Um,
Were you
which
dressed in feminine clothing as a
it was
pallbearer?
not. It wasn't a dress. It was more. It was all feminine cut for like not necessarily a suit, but a blazer with pants. Um,
Mm, I see.
and it wasn't. It
Yeah,
was very. I want to say fairly like not mask, but
got
they
it.
also did not react in any way
Well,
to it.
I will say this, and thank you for sharing all that. It just helps me kind of see what's going on. The reconciling has to come from a place that you want, first off. And so if you really are wanting to, reconnect with your family, um it's one of those conversations that you need to like either send them in a text and in a call saying, "Hey, I still love you. I don't want this to get in between us," and all of that type of stuff. If you are still met with either stonewalling or hate, then you're going to need more time. And
Okay.
or they're going to need more time, not you. But time is a very important thing. A lot of this also has the fact of that they don't want to see you for who you are. So as time passes and you become more yourself, because after the initial transition, we change quite a bit. We fall into who we are and ourselves and what makes us most comfortable, so we're not like, what I'm talking about. You're not as foreign to
Yes.
yourself as you are before. Like, you become more grounded in who you are. And if they see you in yourself in a way that is comfortable and they still refuse to see it, then there may be no reconciling that may happen. And that is something that you're going to have to kind of deal with. I would start with your sibling, and reconnect with your sibling, because I think that is going to be a gateway to the family, where you have your sibling kind of say, "Hey, like, tell mom and dad that I'm actually happy. Like, tell mom and dad that I still love them. Tell mom and dad that," and have those messages be relayed. And that may chip down the wall with them. My sister does that with my biological father. It doesn't work, but at least he hears it. But that's something that I am always going to be chipping that stone block until he probably dies. And so there are some people who are just not there for you, and there's a question you got to ask yourself, Nikki. This is something: would you still be friends with your parents if they weren't your parents? And if you
No.
ask that yourself exactly, right, so that means they're not serving you, right? They're not serving you as people that you would have relation with. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of like their loss for not having the relationship with you. And that's how I deal with it. It's like, you're a great person. It's their loss that they don't get to experience your life and your transformation and who you are and as a happy person. That's their loss. And if they don't want to be a part of that, then that's their fault, not yours. You've done everything as a child, as a daughter, to try to make it better for them. You've given them more grace than I think probably most people would. So you just have to be able to kind of sit with that. And I would connect with your sibling deeper. And then after some time goes by, could be anywhere between 5, 7 years, you were gonna have to try to approach it again and see if they're still hateful. And I hate to say it, but that's kind of how it goes. And
Yeah.
maybe your dad will come around. Who
I
knows? They just
yeah,
need to see you
I don't
happy.
think my dad is impossible to come around. My mom, yeah, I don't know. from very early on, I've kind of always had the role of I'm filling a role for them unless I'm actually a part of the family.
Mhm.
And that's kind of added a layer of I spent several years kind of not telling them things, and then
Mhm.
this blindsided them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I wasn't even planning to come out when I did. It was after a 80-minute conversation about why I had to warn them to respect a friend's pronouns and how they didn't need to
Mm.
be warned.
Yeah.
When there's a reason why I did. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
with
For
my
sure.
sister, at least, I think there's a chance. I hope. But thank you,
Yeah.
and I don't
Yeah.
think I have anything else.
Yeah. Lux, do you want to add anything? I know you have familial things.
I mean, like, I basically, when I came out as atheist as a teenager and my family freaked out about it, I was like, no, I'm just not going to talk to any of these people anymore. So my advice, like, I don't think I really have advice in this situation. So thank you, Josie, for handling that so gracefully. But yeah, Nikki, we appreciate you calling in, and hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Have a good one.
You do.
Bye.
Bye. Good luck.
Okay, so lines are closed, everybody. If you are complaining in the chat, there's still people in the chat. None of you called in today. You're cowards. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right to your face, you're craven. Y'all should have called in. We had open lines for like the last 2 solid hours, so whatever. Now we're gonna move through our last 2 callers. 2 callers on the line. We're gonna move through those, and then we're gonna get into the super chats. Don't forget, $5 or more on your super chat. We will read them at the end, and make sure you get your hashtag Team Lux, hashtag Team Josie votes in, because we do a fun little game at the end of the show. And if you haven't yet hit the like button, please do that. Thank you very
Man,
much.
the spicy caller, there was a spicy caller and they dropped off, huh?
I know,
I mean, it's just a
disappointing.
bunch of freaking cowards. I swear. It's like it's
Cowards who have
just
no patience. Come on
I
now.
know. I know. It's just oh well, whatever.
He heard that
Oh
last
well.
call wrapping up and went, "Oh no."
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Got too scared, too scared.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
we do still at least have some interesting conversations remaining on the lines. We are going to now talk to Helios, she, they pronouns from Illinois. Helios, you are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going?
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Doing
Okay
good.
so far.
That's good. I'm happy you guys haven't gotten too many spicy callers. Sometimes they can be a little much. Weighing on your sanity.
I'm sad, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
It livens up. It livens up the room. It gets my blood pumping.
Yeah. Raises the blood
Yeah,
pressure a little
that's
bit.
true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Helios, what did you want to talk to us about today?
Okay, so for context, I've been on HRT since June 13th of 2024. And so as I explore and I talk with people about, gender identity and whatnot, I kind of had a little bit of a realization in a way that it's like, because when you break down gender, it's like, oh, it's a social construct. But then it's like, well, so is race. And so it's like, I know that you can't trans your race, but if anybody ever came up to me and told me like, oh, why can't I do that? I wouldn't know how to rebuttal that at all.
Yeah. It's because it's bad faith. It's
Yeah.
because there isn't a reason to compare the two things. I mean, you know, just because there are multiple social constructs doesn't mean they all can be compared to each other. And so it's not a thing that is analogous. The trans experience when it regards to gender is incredibly different than the race experience in regards to race. And so we have to be honest with the fact if somebody were to be like, oh, why can't I be a black woman then, if they're just like being trying to be in that faith, bad faith is like, because gender and race are two different things, right?
Okay.
And it feels bad because it's like you're just completely just you are just hand waving the comparison, because but it is the truth. It's like that is the answer. It is you can't compare race and gender. They're not the same thing. And they're trying to get you into a bad faith conversation. Now, if somebody's coming into this conversation in good faith, you can still say basically the same thing. The experiences between race and gender are so different that they literally have two different fields of study. There's race studies and then there's gender studies. They're not in the same
Okay.
classrooms. And it's because they have very, very historical differences that are used in ways that are very different. Every race has genders, right? And but not so it's kind of like, but you don't compare the two in that way. And it's frustrating, right? Because they're trying to use like the fact and a lot of it comes from the understanding of, oh, if you could just change your gender, I can just change anything about myself. It's like that's not actually what that means. And that's why people say things in bad faith like, "Oh, if I want to have one arm, does that mean I can go and get my arm removed?" It's like again, those are completely different things. Right. And it's like and some people will even
Yeah.
say, "Oh, if I want to be Superman, can I be Superman?" Like it comes from that place.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would add
I mean,
that so I
go for
just
it.
want to say first of all that the term transracial exists to describe adoption. And so like it is a complex thing if you're like a black child adopted by white parents, and it's complicated for both parties, for the parents and the children to navigate that. Like how can you make sure that your child is safe and that they feel connected to their culture? And for the kid, it's like,
Mhm.
having your parents be something that you could perceive as like having being a barrier between you and your culture. Like if your white mom doesn't know how to do your hair, and so your hair is looking a mess, it's a complicated social situation that I feel terrible that that unique experience has been bastardized for the purpose of delegitimizing trans people. My main
Yeah.
reason for distinguishing between racial identity versus gender identity is that like you don't inherit womanhood from your mom. If anything, technically you inherit it from
Ooh,
your
that's a good
dad
way to
who
put
has
it.
the sperm. Yeah, so like you are born into a family and you're born into a culture that you inherited, and like your skin is the color that it is because of the genetics of your parents, whereas like gender, it's like, I mean, yeah, like you can emulate one of your parents if you have the same gender as your parent, but like it's one of those nuanced situations, like Josie was saying, that like these are not comparable because of how you come to have that trait. Like it's kind of both like biological in the sense that like your sex is a biological factor and race is a biological factor that we can delve into things like medical issues like sickle cell anemia is something that is dominant in one racial group over others. But Chatter says I'm half woman on my mother's side. Like it's not the same
That's
as
something that
like,
made me laugh too.
yeah. It's not the same as a cultural ethnic identity. It's not the same as like my people are from Latin America and like the cultural heritage of being a colonized group or being a geographically displaced group or any of that kind of stuff. It just doesn't have the
Yeah, I
same kind of
suppose
shared history.
the level of generational trauma comes with your ethnicity, whereas you don't get any immediate generational trauma from your gender.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So that's kind of my go-to is like you don't inherit gender in the same way that you inherit race or inherit ethnicity. Um yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Helios?
No, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, another thing that I'm kind of struggling with in that same regard is like I had seen some chatters saying that like gender is eternal, like race is external, but it's also like if gender it's forced upon all of us externally. Like if we look at the Judith Butler interpretation of things where gender isn't essential, it's performative, then it's all what society expects us, and that would also apply to race. So I'm still like, I don't even know if that is still a good way to look at that, if that makes sense. I mean,
It's not the
I
argument that I would
personally, I
make.
feel a little bit of
Yeah.
both of way. Like I feel like gender is both performative and essential in a way because like I wouldn't have been led to my trans journey if I hadn't felt some calling, but also it still is a language that I perform actively.
And race
Yeah.
is an identity aspect as well. Like, this is well understood that mixed race individuals feel maybe they feel more close to the Black community, but they are snubbed because they have lighter skin. And so there's a complex thing. It's like, I don't think you even really have the option to identify as white if you are mixed race, but let's say you are Mexican and Black, that like there is a complex identity component to like which of these cultures do I fit in with, which ones do I identify with more. And so there is an internal struggle even while you are being externally racialized. So I personally wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily make the argument that like, well, gender is internal. It's like, well, we all experience a lot of external pressure regarding our gender, and trans
Yeah.
people especially so.
Yeah.
No, it took me
And
26 years for me to realize I was trans because I was forced so hard into the "you got to be the man of the house" role by my
Mhm.
mom that I never had even considered it was an option.
Right. Right. I totally understand that. And I also want to bring in the point of view of the fact that clinically having gender dysphoria is an actual thing and like actually has treatment for it, such
Mhm.
as hormones and surgical care and
Yeah, well
all,
documented.
yeah, social like transition, all of that is part of it. And there are millions of people over history and time that have had to deal with this and have already gone through this process. While there if there was a thing that a lot of people try to make it analogous of somebody wanting to be a different race, it would be much more well documented and actually have a clinical point of view. And there isn't one because it's a meme. It's not real. It is completely
Yeah.
not diagnosable. And that's what it is. And that's why transracial is seen in academic books as far as a thing that happens to people who are raised in different families and isn't a condition like a gender dysphoria and having those things that in the brain and even all of these things that exist. And so that's another thing, and that's another reason in my opinion they're not comparable, because there's already a clinical study and science behind it and a medical treatment for gender dysphoria, while the other thing is just a person trying to troll a trans person for living their
Yeah.
truth.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Well, I
I
appreciate.
don't give a lot of oxygen to people who try to compare the two.
I don't blame you. I just figured because I came like even though I've always known it was a troll thing for a while, I had came to the conclusion naturally because I was like, wait, they're both social constructs, then why can't? But what you guys helped me out a lot with that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Not all social constructs are the same, and the social construct around race, unfortunately, has a lot to do with the race oppression of it all. Like, and that really has a lot to do with, like, for example, a black person's experience in Africa is very different from an American black experience, and
Very true.
so the idea that social constructions are built around systems of oppression, and that is why there's entire studies and race studies around the ideas of why race shows up the way that it does. And then you also have the idea of cultural studies as well that also add more complexity as well, because culturally things change over region and also dealing with interacting with systems of oppression as well. It is, but these are the things that somebody who's trolling about, changing your race, like changing your gender, they've never picked up the book beyond fourth grade. So they don't even understand what systems of oppression even mean. Right. So yeah, that's just how it
Yeah.
is. And maybe I'm being too mean, but honestly, let's be mean to the
Well,
magoids as much as possible.
I mean, we can't even say read a book anymore because Piers Morgan wrote a book. So
Anybody can write it. Anybody can self-publish a book these days. Amazon, you ruined everything.
Yeah, I ruined everything.
yeah, yeah.
So I hope that helps, Helios.
No, I really appreciate that. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
Well, thanks for
Well,
calling, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again
thank you.
sometime.
Yep. All right.
Okay,
Bye.
bye guys.
Bye. Okay, we have one left. Now, I will say, y'all, I haven't made this announcement yet today, but I I am not going to be on Calling It Now after this show. You will be able to see Jimmy and Jovan talking about the shooting in Minneapolis, the ICE shooting in Minneapolis after this. That's going to be the subject of the show that they're going to be going on today. So if you just stick around at the end of our stream, it should just kind of automatically kick you over there, or there's a little thing that pops up in the chat. You can click Go Now to go over to Jimmy Snow and The Line and show your support over there and enjoy the conversations over there. It's been spicy this week over and Calling It Now. So if
It's
you were
the
missing
time of
out,
day. It's the time
I
of
don't.
day.
I don't actually know. I just had a conversation with Jimmy where he was like, no, actually, that isn't a relevant factor. And maybe Arden can better understand what the fuck he was saying, because I don't know what he was saying.
It's the
Was he
time of
saying,
day.
was he saying that because I'm trans and I'm on the Calling It Now show afterwards, but we don't get more views? Like, I don't know.
No, what he was saying is that they've done Calling It Now at a bunch of different time slots, and they've shown that like the kind of spread of the types of calls they get is not really related to the timeline at all.
Okay.
He
But-
needs to realize that
I see what you mean.
as a scientist, if you want to actually study this, we should put Transatlantic Call-In show during the prime time and see what happens. Like
Just see what happens.
if we did that, then we could put this to bed. All right,
Unfortunately, I don't think
because
you'll ever convince him to do that now that Calling It Now exists at that
I
time
know.
yeah,
slot.
because he wants to keep the primetime slot. If Jimmy didn't care, let's swap them. If it doesn't make a difference, let's swap it. Like, you know, because look, if you want to use his logic against him, it's like, oh, it doesn't make a difference. Okay, then let's swap it. If it doesn't change, like, let's go.
Listen,
Maybe we
I'm
should
all
do-
for it. It makes my workday on Thursdays better if it was a little bit later. So, but you
I'm
know.
just saying, let's put his money where his mouth is. All right, like let's actually see the theory to be true.
Let's do more trans Calling It Now, or not Calling It Now, Cus I Wannas on Fridays and Saturdays during the prime time, and we'll see if we can fare any better.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, we have one caller left, and then we're going to move into super chats. $5 or more, we'll read those super chats out, and you can use that hashtag Team Josie or hashtag Team Lux to vote within your $5 or more super chat.
That's right.
Yes, I can
Also,
do words.
hashtag primetime TACIS.
Hashtag primetime TACIS. Yeah. Put pressure. Audience pressure.
Yeah.
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 Well, let's get into this last call. We are going to talk to Dawn, her from Montana, who wants to get some advice. Dawn, you are live on the line with Luxander and Josie. How's it going?
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey. I guess, so I've been, on hormones for around 4 years now, but I've had trouble, managing my testosterone, and so I kind of want to, get surgery, to manage it, but I'm just afraid that I'll get the surgery done and then some legislation will come out where it makes it either like illegal or like difficult to be on hormones, and so I'm reliant on external hormones when I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous, but
It's okay. No worries.
yeah.
You're doing great. No,
I understand the sentiment though,
Sorry,
because
yeah.
and this is something that I hear from trans men as well, who are like, if I get my ovaries removed, then I'm going to be reliant on external hormones. I think for women, I would not be as concerned because estrogen is widely available and it exists in a legal gray area as far as acquiring it without a prescription. So I think that it's a less serious crime for sure, even if it were to be considered like something that they would investigate. Like it's not the same as like testosterone being a steroid. So I think first of all, I can confirm I know a trans woman who has had issues with her testosterone and she finally got the orchiectomy and everything's much easier now. Like, she's in the target range for estrogen, which was just hard for her to get even with testosterone blockers. So I understand your desire. I think that that's totally valid, and I think that you will have an easier time still acquiring the medicine, even if you have to go through non-conventional channels. Oh no, she dropped.
Oh
No,
no.
we've
That's
had some issues
unfortunate.
with call-in studio this week where it just
Yeah.
randomly is dropping people. So I think we're
Yeah.
working on getting a
Well,
new call system.
yeah, and if you're still listening, I'll also say this as well. Like, it's really hard. You shouldn't let the political climate affect the needs of your medical care. That's
Yeah.
what they want. They want you to not seek medical care because of the fear that they've instilled in the medical system. I think that in at the end of the day, you need to reach out to your endocrinologist and or whoever is managing your hormones to make sure that you are getting the hormone profiles you need regardless of your surgical care. I know a lot of trans women. I was one of them, especially before my bottom surgery where I had issues and then I changed the patches and then I was good. Like sometimes the way you take the medication can affect how it works. I know some people, like for example, pills no longer worked for me. There was just, and I know that happens to a lot of trans women. Your liver just gets better at filtering it out because if estrogen was supposed to be internally digested, then estrogen glands would be in your saliva, but that's not actually how that works. So I just think it's just a poor method when your liver is having to try to take the estrogen out of your digestive system. But that's my opinion. I'm not a doctor. But yeah, so I would definitely talk to your doctor about that if you're having problems with getting your hormones in the proper place, because you shouldn't have that issue regardless of what surgical care you have. And then secondly, don't let the fear of a changing administration and what they're trying to do stop you from getting the care, because that would be the worst case scenario if all trans people stop seeking healthcare and then they're like, see, nobody's getting it anyway, so let's just cut it off, nobody needs it. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons that you should not delay your own personal healthcare for those things, but yeah, that's my opinion.
Once you have the P word, they cannot take it away from you.
Yeah, yeah. That's right. All
Well,
right. Well, let's get into super chats.
yeah, I guess it's time for super chats. We're gonna
Yeah.
languorously move our way through them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say, donations have been coming in for the campaign. So I'm going to be doing call time after this call, after this calling people, asking them for support. So if you want to be one of those amazing people that make my call time less stressful, please donate. It would be incredibly helpful to the campaign. We are actually approaching $40,000 raised total. And if
Dang.
you and I think about, I was asking early on and I was like, "Oh, I'm almost at 5 or almost at 10, or almost at 15, and we're almost at 40. Let's go." Like, and as people have been donating, there have been some people who live in the county. So we just broke our halfway mark to 20,000 of MoCo donors. So we are like really close to that. So if you know people in Montgomery County, shoot them a link. Say, hey, support my friend. Like, let's do that as well. I'm hustling, everybody. Let's go. Let's make it happen. So,
Listen,
and there's the Zerba link.
if Josie's gonna plug, then I'm gonna plug before we get into super chats. I have my channel at Luxander Moss that is very, very, very close to getting to 40,000
I
subscribers
know
here
you've been
on
crushing
YouTube.
it. You've been crushing it.
I know. Yeah, I posted a clip of you and I this week, and that one
I know.
did really well. Did
I know. It was a
numbers.
good one. It was a good
Yeah.
one. I even
So
watched it.
yes, it was worth a revisit for sure.
It was.
I feel like I'm so much spicier than I actually am. Like I said I was spicy and people were like, "You weren't that spicy." And I'm like, I felt like I was a huge asshole. So if you don't think that I was a huge asshole, then that
I
means that
didn't
I can
think you
be
weren't.
I can be as big of an asshole as I want to then, is what I'm
Yeah.
learning, is that I can just do and say whatever I want and nobody else is going to think it's socially unacceptable.
And that video that you posted, we actually changed that person's mind. It was a great call. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I had this great call like
Yeah.
with you. It was awesome. Yeah, it was good.
It
So
was really nice. And also,
definitely.
If anybody wants to see an atheist rant about James Cameron's Avatar and the fact that they have a real actual afterlife, that's my second channel at Musing Moss that y'all should check out. I'm really pleased with the video and how it came out, and I want to continue having more conversations about dumb shit like that because politics sucks. Let's go talk about movies. We'll still talk about politics, just through the lens of the movies. It makes it much easier to tolerate.
My tism doesn't let me talk about anything else. I'm the worst. I'm obnoxious about the politics. Like it's.
I tism about movies. Yeah. Did you know Tom Hardy was in a Star Trek movie? That was crazy.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
It's apparently the worst Star Trek movie. Everybody agrees.
Oh, well, there you go. I mean, his clothes kind of like meh. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's do these super chats. I'll start. We have $5 from William Mattis, who says, I've heard orchiectomy takes balls to go through. Hashtag Team Josie, hashtag Bards strike together. Thank you for the puns.
Yes. Wonderful. All right. Sorry, I was responding to chatter.
Okay.
Montgomery County, Maryland, by the way. Somebody is asking what state. Montgomery County, Maryland. See, I even have the little flag here. It's so
Hell yeah.
yeah. All right. $5 from William Mattis, 1991. Remember the rules of the party. If you attack one of us, we all roll initiative. Hashtag Team Lux, hashtag MB Pals, hashtag yes, I am a fence setter, hashtag no, I'm not sorry. It's true. I love that shirt, by the way, that we all roll initiative.
Yeah.
Hey, is the mug brawl still happening, by the way? I don't even know. But if it is,
think so. Oh, Arden, you can close call in studio.
Oh
yeah. Thanks. Here, let me
yeah. So I don't know if y'all seen the Elect the Dolls mug.
They're still
it's so
up.
good.
They're still
They're
available.
still up.
It was supposed to be over. Jimmy just has forgotten. Listen, get in right now. Hashtag Team Lux represent. Go to linemerch.com and buy a hashtag Team Lux mug. Do it now. Thank you.
Buy an Elect the Dolls mug.
Yeah, the competition is over. Jimmy won, but the mugs
Jimmy
are
won?
still available.
Of course.
So,
you can still buy a mug though.
Who got second?
I think
Javon.
Although this reminds
because
me,
they're always
have you guys
online.
seen the
They're
Office
always doing
episode where Jim tries to award a employee of the month, and then he wins, and then they're like, "You can't win." He's like, "Okay, who's next?" And it's Pam. That's what that feels like.
Yeah. Well, at least we still get profit share on the sales of Jimmy's mug. So it's still, even though he cheated, it's still socialism. We're still sharing and taking what is due to him and stealing it for ourselves, or whatever the fuck people say about socialism. Anyway, thank you for $5 from Spirigeist, who says, as a trans man, Jimmy gives me gender envy, and IDK how to feel about that. Probably cringe. LOL. Best of luck in the polls for hashtag Team Josie. He's got the beard. I get it.
I get it. Beard. The first beardo. 5 pounds from Mystic Mind Analysis. Don't forget, fascists will gladly break the law to get what they want. Community action to protect each other is essential for survival. Yes, it really is.
Yeah, people keep saying that they feel powerless in this situation, and I understand that. And the best way to feel more in control and feel more power is to just get involved in things that you can actually control. Go volunteer, go help somebody, go do something for someone in your community. Go, even if you're just like, well, I don't know, I'm just going to buy from a local business. Buy from a local business, dude. Like, support local businesses, support your local communities, go out there and make friends. You feel like sad and alone and helpless because if you're anything like me, you sit inside on your computer all day. So turn the computer off, step outside, go press your face against a tree for a few minutes. I promise you'll feel better.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think this is you, right?
$5 from Mira G says, Spectrum gender rise up. Hashtag dragons rule. Hashtag Team Luxander. True. Do I have? Yes, I have a dirty Team Lux mug on my desk from a couple days ago.
Hey, this is dirty too. Let's just let's just keep it
I
real.
drank my tea and then I did not take it to the dishwasher.
Yeah. $5 from @SilverTwilight. Someone give me motivation to continue writing my blog, stitching the trans agenda. In the new year, I got distracted after September. Hashtag Team Josie. if you write it, somebody's life could be changed.
That's true.
So if that's not motivation, the second you don't have it out, that's one less person that's gonna have their life changed for the better. So yeah, so actually every day you don't do it, it's actually hurting the trans community. So if that's the type of motivation you want, you got it.
Yeah. And I gotta say, like, it's never the wrong time to pick something back up, right? I know a lot
That's
of people
right.
arbitrarily do the New Year's resolutions thing, but like, and I've been saying this to people, like, if you stopped wearing a mask, for example, it's okay to just start doing it again, right? The flu is rampant right now. COVID is crazy. When I went to get my vaccines today, there were people coughing and grossing me out. And yeah, I was like, guess what? I'm wearing a 3M Aura N95, and therefore I am not going to get sick from these gross people. It's never the wrong time to get back into it, whatever the thing is. So just let yourself have a little bit of time to relax and take a break from writing and then get back into it when it feels natural. So
Yeah.
Canadian $5 from Quantum Chaos, who says, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Lux and Javon on Calling It Now the other night was fantastic. Also, gestures broadly. What the fuck, America? Hashtag Team Josie. Hashtag go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Yeah, I had a ton of fun with Javon the other night, and I'm definitely going to do more streams with him in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
He is one of my
I want to
favorite
do one.
humans, and I love collaborating with him on pretty much any project. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need to remember that you all are people who I could message and talk to and be friends with outside of work. And like,
Yeah.
because I think like I need to hit up Arden more to play video games with me. I need to hit up Javon to play video games or just like chat outside of
I
work.
play video games.
What video games do you play?
Well, I'm finishing Expedition 33 right now. That's a single player
Okay.
game. So
I know I'm
yeah.
doing Carrion right now, which is it's like a puzzle platformer, but you play as the monster. It's a lot of fun.
Oh, that sounds fun. I did beat Silk Song, and I beat the third act too. So that's like my accomplishment. Like, all right, that still proves to me I can still play video games at my old age. Like, I can still do it. Like,
Yeah. I started to play Hollow Knight and I was having a lot of fun. I need to get back into it at some point. So
yeah.
yeah. Anyway.
Oh, did we skip one?
No, I think that's the one that I just read.
Okay, $20 from Shiloh75. Sorry, I'm late, but congrats on 10 years. I'll hit 10 years in August. Hashtag Team Herbivore. Let's go. I love it. You know, somebody tried or my campaign manager tried to give me an article saying, you know, less people are staying vegan. And then I read the article and it's like all the people who do it for diet. Like, of course, diet culture is trash. Everybody who starts any type of food system because of their diet is always going to fall off the wagon. There are more full-time forever vegans than there ever have been. So we are still winning the game piece by piece by piece. It's true.
Thank you for 10 from Lord Ben, who says, in the new David, Goliath is a Nephilim, pale skin, gold, 24 digits. Some Christians are angry because other Christians interpret and took creative liberties for a story that is fictional anyway. They will just come up with anything to be mad about.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Ugh, it's wild. I don't know what's crazy is people don't think it's fiction. Like, people think it's like actually what happened. Yeah, there was a giant just walking around the world. Like,
it's so funny because this is also a thing that happens with fiction. Actual understood. Everybody knows it's fiction. Like the idea that there's a canon that you need to adhere to, that you need to be internally consistent with, or like follow, like the Star Wars canon. You know, how dare they rewrite the story of how these two characters met? It's like just let the story be a story. Let a good story be a good story. It doesn't matter because it's fake. Whether there's an internally consistent narrative, who cares? Weird
I mean, that's what
people.
they did with the Marvel universe, right? They're like, it's all just own universes, and I was like,
multiverse theory. Yeah.
It's
the
multiverse.
Post hoc justification of like, well, we keep rebooting this, so we have to pretend like there's a justifiable reason for it that isn't just like we decided to write a new story.
Yeah,
Whatever.
exactly.
So
it's
many
like,
media have done that though. I love it's like a trend whenever a media series gets really big that they start introducing like multiverse stuff because they're like, we've done everything we can do within this universe. Now we need to
have God forbid we write a new story like about something else.
It's like the Legend of Zelda crap. Like they do the same thing. Like it's like, oh, it's all one timeline that's over thousands and thousands of millennia. It's like, okay, sure. All right. $5 from Lord Bean 6584. Top surgery, bottom surgery. Which surgeon is turning people into tops and bottoms? And where can I find them? That's a good question.
I told this person we're going to outlaw bottom surgery because we have too many bottoms.
Too many
We're in a
bottoms.
top crisis, and we need more tops.
It's true. It's true. We do.
$5 from Joshua, who says new Smex and relationship show name on the line. Predictable fluids. Hashtag Team Josie. True.
Yeah.
It's our new sex advice column. I'll do it with Alyssa.
I know.
That's crazy.
$10 from Beakers Squeakers. Josie, what information resources do you recommend for vegan nutrition? I've tried to go vegan multiple times, but had to stop after a few months of not eating enough. Hashtag Team Josie. There's a lot of nutrition. Man, I've just been vegan for so long. I just eat until I'm full. I always make sure it's complete. You gotta you can't just remove meat from your plate and expect it to be filling. You have to add put beans in it, tofu, even the mock meats. That's the thing that I realize a lot of people do is they eliminate meat and don't replace it with something. It's probably the biggest thing. And don't be afraid of carbs. People have this mindset that carbs are so bad for you, but if carbs were fattening, I would be morbidly obese because I eat so many carbs. And you just have to know how your body kind of just functions is part of the thing. But if you're so hungry, eat more. And you're gonna eat more calories, but they're plant-based calories, so you can eat more of them and your metabolism will eventually catch up. So yeah, it's a long thing.
And make sure you're getting a variety.
Oh
my God. Variety, switch out what you're eating from week to week. Maybe one week you focus on beans, maybe the next week you focus on tofu. Just make sure you're getting a nice variety, lots of different colors. There's lots of vegetables that have basically any brassica has lots of protein in it. So Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cauliflower, those are high protein vegetables. So yeah, just making sure you get a nice
there's
wide
no
variety.
sound for the rest of the
it's back now. They were on a delay. I turned off all the sound so that people could so that it wouldn't kill people.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Also,
okay.
I'm not vegan anymore, but I will say my favorite meat replacement option for protein was always chickpeas. I love chickpeas so much. I like to bake chickpeas in a tahini sauce and just eat them like popcorn. It's so good, and they're heavy in protein and fiber. They're super good for you.
Lentil chili. Good stuff.
Yeah. And make sure you soak your lentils. If you don't soak your lentils, you're keeping in the enzyme that gives you the runs if you're not used to it. So soak your lentils, because if you don't, it does it to me every time. It's terrible. Because I don't eat them enough. But yeah, and also follow other bloggers and don't fall for the fads. Raw food veganism is not better than regular food veganism. Don't fall for that crap. That's a big thing that I see a lot, that people try to go raw food vegan. It's just be vegan. You don't need to be special about it. Yeah, anyways, I've been vegan very happily for a while now and am very healthy. My blood has always been right on target. It's been good.
Thank you for $5 from Domestic, who says, or a max of 500. Is this a max limit for each donation or daily or for her entire campaign? I don't make political donations much. Hashtag Team Josie. Yes, please enlighten us, Josie.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for talking about maxing. Maxing is 500 for the individual. So that's how it goes. So if you want to give in, $50 pieces over 10 times, that counts. And yeah, so if you do donate over 500, my treasurer will be refunding you the excess amounts. So that's what the hard limit is. 500 for the total of a contributor. So yeah, thank
Is
you
that
for
per
asking.
quarter, or does it like once per year, or?
It's per, so for the primary cycle it's 500, and then when the general comes around you can give another 500.
Okay, makes
So
sense.
after June 23rd you can give another 500. Yeah, and please, 500 would be so amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I would love you forever.
Why
I'll
don't
even
I
we
would
have
call you and
that
also
say
love
thank
limit
you.
on
$500, but I'm not going to
billionaires?
campaign with it. What were you saying,
Yeah.
Arden?
I was thinking, why don't we have that limit on billionaires? That's like
I know.
$500 is a lot. Most people can't give it, but that seems like a reasonable limit to me. It'd be like, no individual should have outsized influence on an election. But it's like, but in an
Yeah,
age when
that's
billionaires can just make a PAC and give billions of dollars to
exactly.
an individual, I don't understand why.
Yeah, the reason it's 500 is because I am a public finance campaign. I have to qualify for that. So I put a $500 limit on myself because that's how you get public financing. So a $50 donation in Montgomery County is actually $300, for example. And a 150 is like a 650, and a 500 is 1,000 if you're in Montgomery County. So I do that. So if I didn't do public financing, I could get up towards the 5,500. But for me, I don't want to be bought by special interests. I'm not in that game for this. So that's why the folks on the line that give me these small dollar donations matter so much to me. Because it actually shows that I have a lot of small dollar support. Right now, the average contribution for my campaign is $50, and we have over 530 donors, individual donors across the entire country, which is absolutely huge. And I'm incredibly grateful to have so many people. And the amount of donations I've received total is 690 individual contributions. So I'm almost at 700 contributions right now, total. So yeah, we are absolutely doing the work to make it happen. So yeah, so it would be incredible. Thank you so much. And the more money I raise right now will be so incredible because it makes my call time less stressful, because I'm trying to raise money after this. I'm going to be raising money for another 2 hours after this show, making phone calls. So yeah, it really does help a lot. So thank you for everybody on the line. Zerba has raised quite a bit of money.
Hell yeah. I think this one's you.
Okay, $5 from Alishana Silverbow. Speaking of genitals, what did Cinderella say to Prince Charming? I want to see if it fits. Hashtag Josie.
That's funny.
Much love. I love it.
Hashtag Team Lux, y'all are not showing up today. Come on now. Thank you for $9.99 from Snardfluck, who says, also Louise Richardson. What's up, Louise? Oh, my sister has hated me for 50 years because she felt she had to explain my absence to our grandparents back in the day. There was no right way to come out in the 1970s. Yeah, that's tough. It's tough. I mean,
Yeah.
I gotta say, it's so great to have so many like older trans people. Like we were talking last night on my stream, which by the way, if you want 2 solid hours of my opinion about the shooting in Minneapolis, go watch my stream from last night. But there were plenty of people in there because I was saying like this feels like the darkest day for our country that I have come to feel like has happened in my lifetime or since I became politically aware. And there were lots of people who were like, yeah, no, I came out as trans in 1985 and this is a pretty dark day for our country. Like it's one of the more screwed up days for like, the actions of the federal government and everything. So yeah, it's a rough time. And if you want to hear more about it, stay on the line for Calling It Now, which is coming on next after this one.
Yeah, absolutely, and it has been it's one of the dark days. It was so bad. It was only a matter of time. Surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
I mean, there
Uh,
have been shootings from ICE
yeah,
before, but this is like the
this is the
first time
first
they've shot a legal
fatality.
observer. Actually, I
Yeah.
don't think it's the first fatality. It might be the first fatality of someone who's not a suspect or like
You're
not in
right. Yeah,
custody.
that is correct. That is correct.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of fatalities in detentions.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 pounds from Barbara Barrett '07. I wouldn't know. Both my parents were dead before I transitioned, and most of the rest of my family cut me off when I was drinking, which was pre-transition. Hashtag Team Lux. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm glad you're
That's
out though.
rough. Yeah. Thank you for $10 from the Nikki, who says, thank you both again. Hashtag Team Josie. Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate you calling in.
Yeah. 9.99 from Bram Lay CX. Y'all are too strong and informed. Spicy collars can't handle the heat. Hashtag Team Lux. It's true though.
True. They don't want to lose, so they can't even try. They're not even willing to step into the ring.
That's right.
You guys are absolutely right, though. There's one guy who's been commenting on every episode for the last couple of weeks who was in chat getting muted consistently. It's like, just call in. Stop being a
Yeah.
fucking chicken shit.
We will take your calls for literally months. Oh, by the way, if anybody wants to see me like really chew out Andrew from New Jersey, you got to watch the stream with me and Javon this week. It was so fun. I yelled at him and it was glorious. He is banned from the line. He can call in Jimmy Snow Show. That's different. It's a different phone number. So, you know, if you want to get some catharsis from that. Thank you for $4.99 from Louise, who says, at a clinic in my hospital, they ask for all races that can apply. So you can choose your race at the hospital. Yeah, a lot of that stuff is self-report. But like being racialized happens with regardless of whether you want it to. And it's just based on your appearance. Like, how dark is your skin? What is the particular shade of how dark your skin is? Yeah, it's a nuanced subject that I wish, frankly, white people would shut the fuck up about.
Yeah,
And I am a white people.
and they don't even talk about the history of passing, which meant not trans passing, not regards to trans people, but black folks that were light enough to pass as white. And they would specifically try to do that to escape the racial oppression, not because they wanted to not be black, but because they wanted to escape oppression as well. So there's so much nuance and historical context to it all. Yeah. $5 from Ace Arrow Anarchist. As Josie is one of the inspos on the 2026 vision board, gotta get a vote in for hashtag Team Josie. Gotta get involved in local politics and elect the dolls. Yes, and I'm honored to be on your vision board. Thank you. That's so sweet of you.
That
But
is very
yes,
sweet.
elect the dolls. Run for office. Do it.
Thank you for £5 from Willow, who says, money is also a social construct. And from now on, I identify as a millionaire. Where my money at? Exactly.
Yeah,
Give me money. Put
exactly.
money in my hand. It's here now. Put money for me. Money me needing a lot now.
Yeah. Willow's worldview, £5. Oops, forgot my hashtag Team Lux.
Y'all better show up. Listen.
Doesn't fiat in like fiat currency literally just kind of mean like because we say so? Like this money has value just because we declared
It's
it
it
so?
Yeah, like
it
as opposed to being
is.
based on a value like gold or something.
Yeah, and it's something special that the United States gets to do. But yeah, fiat currency is essentially the ability for the US government to print its own money and say that there is the perceived value. Nation states have this ability to do so. That's why if the rest of the world wanted to punish America, they could stop using the US dollar as the global currency, especially for the US petrodollar. If you were to eliminate that, you would make America's money paper and it would completely destroy everything that we have here in America. So it's the perceived value that America is going to stand strong. And that's why our fiat ability of having stronger dollars is seen as so powerful. But yeah, we could lose it all, and I get worried about that all the time.
We got 5 from Barbara Barrett, who says, one is born with a gender orientation upon which you build your gender identity. That's an interesting way of framing that. Had
Interesting.
not
Yeah.
considered that framework.
Yeah. 5 pounds from Barbara Barrett again. 07. You're supposed to dissolve tablets under your tongue to bypass your liver. Yes, that is a way you can do it. If you do it that way, great. Again, if you're doing things, make sure you're just getting it done with your doctor. I was doing it that way too, and it didn't work very well. Even though my
Yeah.
doctor said don't do it. I was like,
Your
"Screw
doctor
you."
said don't do it, and you said, well, I'm going to anyway.
Yeah, it still didn't work.
$5 from Shadow, who says, I was the last caller that got dropped since I couldn't say it on the call. Thank you for the advice. I really appreciate it.
Oh, good.
Yeah, sorry, call-in studio has just been wacky this week. I don't know what's the deal. Sorry. $4.99. Oh, is that? Sorry, I just read that
Yeah,
one.
it's all right.
Goober.
Yeah, it's fine. $4.99 from Blinging Jack 1. Volunteering outside the LGBTQ community is so important for visibility. I'm a trans woman. Was one of 10 volunteers in school of 700 in Texas. Hashtag Team Josie. Wow, great for you.
Yeah, I do. I agree. Like, I think part of what we need to do as trans people, as queer people in general, is like make yourself a valued member of your community outside of directly queer spaces, because that's how we get non-trans people and non-queer people to care about us. Is like, if we are like, if you are someone who can be relied upon, if your neighbors know that if their kids are outside and you're gardening and that you'll watch over their kids and that you're a reliable and safe person, I honestly think that that would do a lot of work for us in terms of making sure that people are accepting us within the communities, that people will go to bat for you, that people will come outside and say, what the fuck, if the FBI comes knocking on your door. Yeah, so not just being involved in queer spaces, although that is important as well. Like, I want to volunteer for an LGBTQ youth organization because I'm now old enough that I feel like I should be helping the young people. But that's like, don't limit yourself to just those spaces because it's more comfortable there. Go outside your comfort zone a little bit and, you know, join other communities and get involved with other spaces as well. $5 from The Gamer says, just wanted to say thanks. Listening over the last month has helped me overcome some internal conflict over my transition. You guys are awesome, Alexia. Thank you. I'm so glad that we were able to help.
Yeah.
All right.
Oops, that it?
The last super. Josie has won.
I cry.
Let's
I'm so
ready
sad.
up our arena. Host right is the winner. Host left is the loser.
Well, at least it's a fun one.
Oh, we did get another super chat just there, and that was a Team Lux. Josie still wins, but Spooky Metalhead, thank you for your super chat. They said, Lux, can you talk about that trans creator who was ordered to stop making content by the Trump admin? For anyone not on your stream last night.
Yeah, I haven't really seen a lot of confirmation about this beyond like that creator talking about it. And I don't want to necessarily say like I'm disregarding what she said. But I don't know. The more I've thought about it since last night, I don't know if I want to fully jump on the narrative that the FBI is now ordering trans people to delete their online platforms. If it doesn't seem like that is actually happening, or if we don't know for sure. Like, we've had lots of people be contacted by the FBI over the last couple of years. I've seen plenty of videos of people, you know, refusing to open the door and the camera is pointing at like there's agents outside their house or whatever. So I'm not going to discount that that's happening. But I just don't feel like I have enough confirmation, and we want to make sure, especially on this platform, that we're being accurate. And until it starts happening to more people, or we start getting like screenshots of the letter or something, like, I understand also if her lawyer told her not to publish that information, right? So it's a sensitive situation, and we're trying to be as careful as possible in terms of like not drumming up fear that you don't need to be experiencing. Everything already sucks. We don't need you to be even more freaked out. There's another super chat with no vote, so
Human supremacy is ugly. Speciesism is more basil.
Basil, yeah.
And yeah, if you are not vegan, you violate your own standards of inconsistent logical fallacies. I used to be a vegan activist for a long time, and I realized the best way that I have been able to do it is either A, you're in a demonstration where you're just talking about it, and there's already a space created, kind of like the show, where like people are there to debate about the thing, or you just live a happy life and eat good food around other people, and people are like, "Oh, that's good. That looks great." And I was like, "It is great. You want to try it? It's vegan." And like I've been able to do more activism through that with my close friends than to be like, "You have to do this because it's the morally right thing to do." I mean, I don't know. Unless I'm in a space where that is the conversation that is happening. But I am having a vegan meet and greet in Montgomery County soon. It's already got a lot of people going, and yeah,
Ooh.
so that's gonna be fun. I'm gonna end the rodeos. That's what I'm gonna say I'm gonna do. So got to give them a policy. Got to give 'em a bone. In fur and in the rodeos.
All right, Lux, are you
Yes.
ready to defend cisgender is just a phase?
Once I get over crying, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, yeah, you should be
Charging up
crying
the
about those
clock
poor
here.
bulls.
In 3, 2, 1, go.
Listen, I know you really feel strongly about your gender, okay? Like, I understand you're feeling very strongly, but you're really young, okay? You're very young, and there's so much life ahead of you, and you want to make sure you're not making the wrong choice, okay? Because a lot of these changes you're about to go through are irreversible, okay? Like, you have to understand, I'm worried, I'm concerned that you're going to go through an irreversible change that you're going to regret for the rest of your life, okay? You identify as cisgender, and like, I'm trying to understand, and I'm trying with your pronouns, I'm trying to respect that, okay? But like, I just really need you to think through the consequences of this decision. You really need to, like, have you talked to a doctor about this? Have you talked? It looks like there's so many people who regret being cisgender. There's like a huge number of people who regret being cisgender. So, like, listen, I know I'm trying to just love you through this, and no matter who you end up deciding you are, I'm gonna be there for you. I'm gonna do my best to continue to show up for you and support you. I just really need you to make sure that this is the right thing for you, and I don't know, maybe you should just try being trans. Like, why can't you just be a trans woman? Like, I don't understand why you can't just try it out and see if you feel better as a trans person. Like, I'm really just concerned that you're going to grow out of this, and you're going to regret it later in life. And there are people who can be trans their whole life, and there are people who are much happier that way. I just think maybe you need to commit to being trans. Like, being cis is just, life is going to be harder for you, and I'm just worried that you're not going to be able to get a job, and you should try to be trans, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it really a choice? I mean, honestly, well, I guess they are choosing to be cis in this conversation. So I guess, you should choose the right way to do it. Like, it's just the morally right thing to do. Like,
Honestly,
See?
Lux has a point. There are
I
way
know.
more people that regret trying to be cis than trying to be
That's
trans.
true. That
That's
is
so
way
true.
true. Yeah, yeah,
I wanted to work in
exactly.
something about repression, like, because there's some people who continue to identify as cis even though they know they're trans, but I couldn't figure out how to tie it in. So
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, exactly. That cis regret is way high.
The cis regret rate is off the charts, y'all.
Yeah.
Honestly, we need to be careful with this ideology, okay? We need to be
Yeah.
careful. Our children are going to be impacted.
We need to study it more. We just got to study it more,
Yeah, we need
and then
longitudinal studies. We need at least
yeah.
20 years of studies to see what the impact of letting people be cisgender is.
Yeah,
I won't
yeah.
stop until there's transgender for everybody, to be honest.
Transgender for everybody. Come on now.
As long as I don't get assigned to someone I don't like, all right? Like, because that's what I hear when he says transgender for everybody is like, are you going to start like giving trans people to like cis people? Like, is that what this is like? Like,
The
Everybody
workload
gets
would
a
be off the
trans.
charts. Like,
Yeah.
how many cis people do I have to babysit now?
I know. It's like they're gonna make a trans person babysit a cis person because it's a transgender for everybody. Because that's how they use transgender, right? They use it as a noun,
A
which
transgender,
is
yeah.
a transgender person. That's what they mean. So everybody's gonna have to get one. And yeah, that seems like a lot of work, and I'm not down for this.
That's got to be perfect for the people with the public use kink, though.
Yeah, that's true. Oof.
I just like saying crazy things right at the end of the show.
Listen, this is the
We're
only
kind of
way we
vamping right
survive
now.
this show is by being able to laugh and say absurd things. So
It's
Yeah,
true.
that's true. That's true. Well, I'm trying to raise another $250 before this show ends in a minute. Let's do it. Do it now.
Do
I
it.
need it. Oh my
I need more
gosh.
subscribers on
I just-
@Luxander Moss YouTube
I don't
channel.
know why I just posted that. Trash. No.
Oops.
I know. I think I had something caught in my oh, I don't even know what happened. Oh well, it's gone. Whatever. I had a weird thing. I was Googling something. I was like, is this a real thing? It was
Yeah.
the trans creator thing.
If you're interested in looking it up later, the username on Instagram is bundleof.sticks, like the river Styx, STYX. So if you want to look her up, her name is Tara. Bundle of Sticks on Instagram and Blue Sky and stuff. She's
Yeah.
the one who's talking about this. But guys, stick around as we get close to the end of the show here. We have Calling It Now next with Jimmy and Javon talking about the shooting in Minnesota. Thank you so much to Arden for producing today. Thank you so much to Jess for screening. Thank you so much to our mods in the chat for keeping things in line over there. And of course, thank you to the patrons. You can join patreon.com/calltheline for perks
Yeah.
and stuff. So
Let's do
be
it.
there or
Gotta
be
do it.
square.